Happy Sunday, everybody. Welcome to week four. Week four? Yeah. Welcome to week 4 of Mastermind Academy. Hope everyone's doing good tonight. Yeah, definitely sad day. Definitely a sad day. When celebrity, it's interesting when celebrities pass away. I'm not sure people really realize the impact of what an athlete or celebrity or like because there's someone who is a part of your like Kobe Bryant was a significant part of a lot of our lives. I still shoot stuff. I'll shoot stuff in the trash can. I'll shout Kobe every time. We grew up watching Kobe. He's been around as long as I can remember, and so it's always interesting when things like this happen. But definitely rest in peace to Kobe and his family, and hopefully anyone who's anyone who loved Kobe. So many people love Kobe. Hopefully you will. I don't know. I guess during this time, hope you can work through it. Yeah, definitely for sure. Sad day though. Definitely a sad day. But we're gonna leave this tribute up here for him for the week. But hopefully everyone besides this was having a great weekend, had a great week, got to relax a little bit over the weekend or learned a bunch of new stuff. I know during this time a bunch of people reached out to me saying that they were studying, had some great study sessions. I'm still the only green one in your chat. This is on my screen as well. Someone said it was different through like the PS4, but I also see you as still the only green one. Let me see what happens if I type in here. Yeah, you're still the only green one. It's magic. Maybe it's some kind of, I wonder if it's some kind of like weird caching. I made some updates to the code. I don't know. I made some kind of updates to the code, but I didn't really look into it very much. But this week is going to be fun for the DevOps Bootcamp. Tonight, obviously, we have Bash scripting. We're going to do a little lab. It's scenario based, but it's a dumb lab. But it's really to kind of get you introduced to Bash, like understanding what Bash scripting is, and to really see like a lot of the concepts that we learned in Golang will apply here, and that it's not scary at all. It does take time to get good at it, but we're gonna Google through a lot of this stuff. It's simple stuff, but I want to show people how they can kind of go through. Like I don't want to just write the Bash script, even though it is pretty simple. But I think we'll have some fun with this, and I think maybe you'll learn how to like administer your computer, add some automation into your own workflow this way. So this should be fun. And what do we have on? What do we have on Wednesday? Let's see. Academy. I moved my laptop over some, so now it's weird. I moved it off center because like the way my cables were moving, it was like messing them up. But so now I got to get used to like looking to the left, and I'll get it all set up eventually. I'm waiting for I can't move my monitor up enough because the mount for my camera behind it doesn't go high enough, so I'm waiting for a new mount to come in. It's all a bunch of stuff. It's annoying. All right, so we're still in the Linux stuff. We're gonna be learning Linux throughout the entire process here, but we're gonna do some Bash scripting today, and then we're gonna get into some networking and security. I think today's gonna be a little bit fun, and then Wednesday might be a little bit boring. This stuff is super important. But it's going to be a lot of information. We're going to do some hands-on stuff with it, but not going to be quite as hands-on as today will be. This section will be pretty hands-on. So next week will be really fun because we'll do some web server stuff and load balancer stuff, and that'll be really hands-on. And the checkpoint lab will kind of combine everything that we've learned so far, and we'll run through a lab that's kind of utilizes, Linux, probably some Go. Maybe we'll deploy like a Go application, behind a web server. Maybe we'll proxy to it and some other things, but we'll use our skills in one big lab. Cool. Oh yeah, but today, Duke Nukem, today we learn Linux the past 2 classes. We learn some command line basics and things. And today we're going to do a little lab where we do some Bash scripting. We're going to run through a scenario and just learn how you would, if you were a systems administrator or you needed to use Linux to administer a system, just kind of some basics of that. Really, really simple stuff, but I think it's going to be valuable for a lot of people. But yeah, that is what we have for tonight. I'm gonna give people just a few more minutes. There's a lot tonight. I do have slides tonight. You should have got the slides if you're in the Google Classroom. They should have went live. I fixed all the issues, all the date issues that I had. I tried to automate the process, and that's what messed up the dates before, but I fixed the issue with that. So I'm learning. I'm getting used to all these tools. I've used Ubuntu and Backtrack in Kali Linux. Yeah, I haven't done a lot of, I haven't messed around that much with a lot of the security distributions like Kali. I know they got a lot of cool tools for pen testing and stuff, but I don't know. That's never been my thing. So I don't know. Hey Geopopos, thanks for the subscription. Welcome to the family. Welcome to the channel. I'm glad to have you. Are there any recommendation or sites you recommend that we can continue practicing Linux and scripting? I don't know any offhand that'll give you like scenarios or things you can practice. But I do find out of all the things, like when people are always like, oh, what like projects can I work on with Python or projects can I work on with Go? I find that because Bash is used to administer the machine, you can use it for a lot of simple things. So it's a little bit easier to set up scenarios. So maybe after this, maybe we'll try to set up, maybe at the very end, we'll try to set up a few scenarios that are more complex than this that we can work through. Yeah, maybe we'll start a GitHub repo with all those in there so that people can go and practice them. But I don't know any offhand. If anyone knows any, definitely throw them out there. All right, so what do we need tonight? So we just need a terminal. We're just gonna be operating Linux. Definitely, if you want, definitely follow along if you want to follow along. I'm gonna push the stuff to GitHub. There's already a script in GitHub from the last time we did it. We're gonna run through the same scenario, but I'm not gonna look at it. Just to see if we build it differently. We can kind of compare and contrast. It was not a perfect script by any means, mostly because the order in which we're going to do things. And the goal is not to make a perfect script right now. It's to understand the process, understand the concepts of it, but it should work once we get to the end of it for sure. Oh yeah. Linux it's really good. And it feels really good once you get super well versed in it and like you get real comfortable like administering your computer from the command line. Like I don't know, there's just so much you can do quickly. I find there's a lot you can do quickly. Whoops. Let's see. Up, down. Let me move this up. No. All right, we'll put this down here. All right. You can watch this thing on something on VirtualBox. Yeah, so all the, actually, one quick update. I returned, today was the last day I could do it. I returned the Radeon 7 that I had. I was having all kinds of issues. I thought it was DaVinci Resolve at first. That was a problem. I was trying to export videos. It would shut my whole computer down after like a minute or two. Wasn't overheating. Temperatures were good. The power, I have more than a big enough power supply. But I returned that. I got a GTX 2070 Super, as well as an additional 16 gigs of RAM, and I exported all of the rest of the streams. And actually, it just finished right before. I think I exported 5 streams, and they finished right before this, and everything went amazing. So I have a new graphics card. Everything is working now. That's why I was having some trouble like putting out my YouTube video, because it was having a lot of trouble exporting it because of the graphics card problem, but we are all good now, all good. So I'm excited about that. I keep trying to give, I have an AMD processor and that works really well. I've had a couple AMD processors. I've had really bad luck with AMD graphics cards. So I don't know, one day maybe I'll have some good luck, but let's go ahead and let's get started, because tonight we tend to go over on the DevOps days, and I think tonight we might go a bit over, but we'll try to keep it to a minimum. Let's go over some slides real quick, just to give you some context around, bash scripting, give you a little bit of information. All right, let's do it. Let's load up. All right, so scripting in Linux, E2 Brute. If anyone knows, that was the the famous stage play Julius Caesar. It's just a script from a movie. So a script from a play. There's movies of it as well. But cool. What is scripting? Very simple. Think about, you can think about movies or plays, but a scripting or script language is a programming language for a special runtime environment that automates the execution of tasks. So that's very reminiscent. If you go back to what we learned about programming and what programming is, very reminiscent of that. The task could alternatively be executed one by one by a human operator. So that's the key metric, I think, that defines scripts. We moved into an age of technology where scripts can be a lot more advanced than that now, but that's generally been the consensus between, like, people say, oh, scripting isn't programming. There's a lot of back and forth. You are using programming concepts, but generally people refer to scripts as things that you could alternatively execute, one by one, manually by hand. Scripting languages are often interpreted because they're often interpreted a little faster to get up and running with. You can script with, again, things like Go, but they're often interpreted. So, next slide. What's happening? I'm on the wrong thing. Next. Whoa. My server's not doing what it's supposed to do. I think my server stopped. All right. So, first thing we're going to do is we're going to learn a little bit about shells. So, Bash is a shell. It's called the Born Again shell. Hold on. Let me see if I can get my server up and running again. What did I do? Oh, I'm offline. Why am I offline? I'm here. Well, it's annoying, but it's not a showstopper. We can keep going. I don't. It says I have full internet access, but I don't. All right. Maybe I can't. Unable to load file. Maybe I cannot keep going. I can connect to another network, but then I won't be able to use my server properly. Give me 1 second. Is the regular stream still up? Yeah, okay. All right. We're good. We're good now. I just can't use my server now. So I'll move my mouse and keyboard to the side. Basically I have the Synergy server so that I can use my Mac. Not my Mac, my PC and my Linux laptop at the same time. And I can just kind of go back and forth between the two. But if the Wi-Fi is not working properly, then I can't do it. So all about shell. So we're going to talk about, so we're going to be using Bash, and I sent a link, in the Google Classroom that talks about shells. But what is a shell? A shell is an interpreter for your system. So it interprets basically commands that are sent to it the same way we talked about. If you're in the Python course, talked about the Python interpreter. It interprets commands that are sent to the computer and performs the actions necessary. And so there are a bunch of shells. So let's type in the Born Again shell. This is the default Bash. This is the default Linux shell right now on almost every distribution is the Born Again shell, and I can't even copy and paste this to you. Actually, let me go back to the other and then see if it works now, because my copy and paste buffer won't work without it. Maybe I'll have to get two Ethernet ports. I got Ethernet on my desktop now, but maybe I'll have to get Ethernet here, or like a second port put in. Nope. Okay. We're not going to waste time with it because tonight's going to be long. Okay. So the Born Again shell, just Google it. It is There's SH and then there's bash. Again, the BA is the born again shell. SH is just your shell. Both of them come installed in Linux by default. Just about every single one. There are other shells like ZSH. You've heard me complain already on here about ZSH. But again, it is when you hop into your terminal, it is the program. It's the software that is interpreting what you are sending to it. So they all have different features. They all have provide you different creature comforts. But bash is the default for almost every Linux distro right now. It was the default on Macs, but that's no longer the case. If you get a new Mac, or if you if you run your upgrades, it'll switch you to Z shell or ZSH, which is a good shell. It's again a shell that's been updated to be better at interpreting. But shells are fun to play with. Again, they provide a lot of tools. The reason why right here you see this little emoji moon right here is because this is a cool thing that ZSH provides to me. And if I open up a new tab, it'll give me a new emoji at random and some cool stuff like that. And my path it shows you my path right there, and the colors are great. But these are all different things that a shell can do. And they can make it easier or harder to do your work. But you should check out shells. But I wanted you to be aware that what's the thing that is interpreting your commands in Linux is it's changeable. You can change it. And if you ever see that the actions that we're doing here, or that you're expecting to happen aren't happening properly, that it's possible that it's using a different shell or referencing a different shell. So it's just definitely something important to know about. You don't need to be an expert on shells, but you need to know that what they are and that there are more than one. The way that you check for a shell, I'll give you a way to check for a shell really quick, is you can see your default shell by typing in echo $ capital SHELL. So there are environment variables that come in Linux, and we'll talk about those another time. Actually, we'll probably get to those later today because we'll probably use some. And that'll tell you what the default shell on your machine is. And that's likely what you're going to be seeing. You're probably going to hop straight into whatever that default shell is. So that's how you can find out. You can see here, mine says ZSH. But again, there are more. I can type in bash, and now I'm in the bash shell. You can see how my prompt is a little bit different, and it provides a different feature set. So just be aware of that. All right. Done with shells. So let's cover some basic, I don't want to call them, they're not basic skills, they're base skills that are kind of necessary for scripting. They are basically a lot of the same things that we kind of learned in Go. Like they're the base level programming concepts that make scripts powerful. Because remember on here we said that a script is basically you can write these scripts that you can automate the execution of tasks, but these tasks could be alternatively executed one by one by a human operator. We could write a script that we could just paste in commands and that would work. So even if we wanted to just change our directories, we could write a bash script that says change CD into this directory, and then we could have it CD into another directory and make a blank file and CD to a new directory, and it would do those things. But where scripting gets powerful is when you add in some of these extra features here. So one of the first ones is arguments. Arguments are great. You've seen me do arguments. We've done arguments while we were learning Linux. You've seen me do arguments a million times, but you probably didn't know they were called arguments. But arguments are options that are passed into, they're passed into a script at runtime to be interpreted. They're not really passed in, but sure, they essentially, that's how people will refer to it. But they're passed into a script so that it can determine what to do at runtime. So that may mean when I go to run a script, maybe I have to put in at runtime, I have to put in like an option, like whether I want it to add something or delete something, or maybe I have to put in an option that has some information in it, like someone's name. And so we'll do some of that tonight. Just know that those are a thing. And so when you see me type in, a lot of the commands, I'm usually typing in arguments. So I'm typing in arguments or I'm typing in arguments, and I will, as I'm doing them tonight, I will point them out so that you can make the connection between, like, I don't want you to think that arguments are only a bash scripting thing. Almost all the time, you're going to be passing in arguments to regular Linux commands. But they're positional parameters. The location of the argument matters. So think about what we learned about zero indexed things like arrays, like lists, things like that. The position matters. And yeah, the position of the argument matters, separated by a space. So you can make decisions in Bash based on the position of a certain argument. So very simple arguments. They're just things that can be passed into a script at runtime. It'll make more sense when you see it in action. And then there's something called a shebang. And so you see me type this. Someone actually asked about this in the Python course, but it's a little line at the top of the file which tells the script what executable to run. So what shell to interpret it in. So let's say I wanted to write something. I wanted to use some features of Bash. This is commonly what you'll see because we're writing Bash scripts. But let's say I use something that's only available in ZSH, and I needed my script to be able to run properly. I would need to put that executable up top so that by default it would know what to run, and I would be able to execute this without having to I'll be able to execute it kind of the way you execute everything in Linux, which is with that /, and I wouldn't have to type in, like Bash or Python to be able to run it properly. And again, it tells the script which shell to use and interpret the code that follows. So it lets my computer know to execute this with the bin bash process, which is the bash interpreter, the born again shell, and it interprets the code that follows. It must be the first line of code. Your code may still work, possibly. It'll probably interpret in bash by default, or whatever your default shell is, it'll probably interpret via that. But it must be the first line of code if you want it to be read properly. And then the shebang can include optional arguments. So we just talked about arguments. So I could type in something like this. Let's go ahead and open up a file. I'm gonna go into my documents and mastermind, and let's go into streams, and let's go into Linux. Some crap in here. Well, there's not that much in here. Let's go ahead and make a new directory called bash _ scripts. And I don't know why that didn't work. Okay, so we're gonna make a quick file real quick, and we're gonna call this just like test.sh. So bash files have to have this sh extension. I think give it a bash extension as well. Actually, they don't need the extension at all, I don't think. I think I can name it whatever I want as long as I have a shebang. But a shebang will look like this. And I would give it a /bin/bash. And again, this would tell my computer how to execute this. But then I could pass in, there's some optional parameters. There's like E, and there's a bunch of stuff that you could pass in. And how could you find out? Actually, I don't know if this works, but how could you find out what to pass in? You could check out the manual. You do man bash, and you could check out what options you had available to you to pass in, things like this. So where have you seen this before? You've seen this with things like ls, when I give you the arguments to pass in. You've seen this with things like ps, like when we want to check processes, and netstat, and all those things. You've used arguments. You've seen us pass in arguments. And the man page is where you can go to find out what arguments you may want to pass in. But for tonight, bin bash is going to be all that we need. All right. Let's move this down, move this back up. All right, so that's the shebang. So I'm gonna stop there for a second, ask any questions you might have for just those two. So we just talked about arguments and the shebang that goes at the top. I don't know if it's only called this for bash or for anything you put up there. I actually think the shebang is just the pound bang thing here. Anytime you see exclamation point in Linux, they commonly call it a bang. So I don't know why it's called this, but that's what it's called. Cool. So anyone have any questions about that before we keep going? running Mac, most Linux commands. Yes, I will try to come across as we do things. There are a few Mac commands because Mac is Unix based. I was so is Linux. They're both Unix like, but there are a few commands that work differently. Specifically things like sed and a few other ones. If I do them here and it's one that I know about and it operates a little bit differently, I will try to let you know and be conscious of that because Mac does have some slightly different commands there. Why doesn't the first hash mark not make the script see it as a comment? That is a great question. So by default, just that would. So one, this is the reason why it has to be the first line. There are some things built into Bash that has it checked for that first line. But the bang after the bang after the hashtag or the pound sign is another thing that helps that's built into Bash to help indicate that it is not a comment. But that is a good question because that is how you would comment in here. Well, it's basically a rewrite of the Unix. I'm a college student in England, wrote it. Yep. Did you just call Linux Torvalds? Yeah, Linus Torvalds, some college student in England. Yes, he's not just some college student in England. He's I don't know if he's a great guy. I don't know him, but he's done a lot for us. Isn't it generally better to use user bin and yes, it better possibly. It depends on what you're doing. It depends on what you're doing. That's completely fine. Bin bash is the kind of default case here for everything that we're going to be doing. Also, everyone's executables aren't in the same places. Different distros have different structures, different paths, and things like that. So that gets a little bit difficult. That is a safer version, but for things we're doing tonight, it's super safe to do what we're doing right here. It's so. The only difference is the explicitness of what's being executed and what's allowed to do some of the execution. But generally, for the most part, I just use bin bash. I actually don't write a lot of bash scripts anymore. I actually usually write Python scripts now, which is interesting. But I don't write a lot of scripts at all now because I haven't even written that much Python lately. But yeah. As I just said, a bash since it's more system agnostic. That is true. That is true that SH is a little more system agnostic. And so again, SH is just your shell. Bash is just kind of an updated version of that, the born again shell. So SH is fine, completely fine. You can run just about everything with SH. There's not much that, that generally works. Yes, it depends on what I'm building. Most of the time, you're not going to be, tech has come so far, most people aren't going to be doing the type of work where that's going to matter, where the difference between those two things is going to matter all that much. But yes, it is important to know which shell you want to use as your interpreter, because it does cause issues. There are incompatibilities between the shells, and structured commands may work differently in another shell. It may require quotes. There's all kinds of stuff that differs between some of these shells. Again, that's one of the reasons why I'm having such a tough time switching to ZSH, because I run into tons of issues with things it's trying to do for me that I'm not expecting. Good and bad, but that's problematic when you've kind of learned how a system works and you're interacting with a system. Also, you're not gonna ZSH is just not gonna be a shell that is enabled on any type of enterprise machine. It's not gonna be a thing. So cool. We're gonna leave bin bash here for tonight, and that's what we are gonna use for this script. All right. So I want you to know about exit codes, because as you're practicing scripting, as you're practicing automation in Linux and learning how to do this stuff, you will run into exit codes. So the exit code that you usually want to have is a 0 exit code. So 0 exit code basically says, hey, I've successfully completed the command and I'm letting you know by passing you along the 0. But then there are a bunch of others that indicate what type of error it is. So you can see there's a little chart here, but there are more than this. So write exit codes down. It's not super important that you memorize them. The only thing is super important that you remember is that 0 is the successful exit code. That's what you're looking for. That's what you're hoping for if you want it to run properly. So just be aware of exit codes. Feel free if you want to look up exit codes and find out what they mean a little bit more. But know what they are. Just it is the status of a command. So Linux processes return an exit code when they are finished. So once they're done, that's when they give you this code to let you know their status. These codes let us know the status of the run, whether it was successful, ran into an error, or something in between. So they can be a little bit ambiguous on what happened, but again, getting a non-zero exit code means something probably didn't work right, and that you have to modify the script or look into the script. So be familiar with exit codes. The way that you can see exit codes, so a 0 exit code won't show you anything by default. So like, let's get it here. If I do like a ls and do, what do you just do, a $? I think it is. How do you do, I know you can just add something to a command. Is it ampersands, ls, ampersands. Okay, see, yes. What test.sh? What happened here? Oh, that actually passed. That ran it in the background. That was dumb. I knew that. Actually, BG, cool. FG, all right, cool. Let's see, what is it? No, it's something, and double ampersands? No. Let's see something. Is it just because of the arguments that I passed in? Hold on. I know that there's a simple way to see the status code. Linux see status code of command. Maybe just because I'm running ls and it's looking for a positional argument. Let's see. Is it $? Question mark? Okay, cool. $. I don't remember that being it. Maybe I need to do a different, like. Interesting. I don't think this is what I'm trying to show you. But I guess so. Echo. Oh, is it just a question mark? Am I? No, it's $? Question mark. Oh, because that's the, okay. So question mark is the, all right. So I think question mark is the holder for a status code. And so I guess I can take a look at it. I wonder if I can take a look at it after each, like, will this change it? Okay. All right. So that question mark is the holder of the last status code. I thought there was a way to see it in the same command. But I ran this cat test.sh. It worked, and it did cat that stuff out. And now the status code went to 0. So I guess you can't put it at the end of the command. There's a way to put it at the end of the command. I don't know what it is right now. But that's how you can see the status code. Not super important right now. It's just super important to know the status code. The status code will be important when you get an error. If you don't see a status code spit out, then you're probably good to go, most likely. So just don't sweat that right now. I just want you to know that exit codes do exist, and that anything that's non-zero is likely a problem. All right, so actually I can show you. So like right here, this one is like command not found. If I type in a command here that doesn't exist, which is obviously that, and I echo it again, I get this 127 status code, because that's the command that wasn't found. So you can check those tables. You can check some stuff out. You can go over and check some stuff out. And bash true equals 0 and false equals anything. Yes, this is very true. We're going to talk about that in a second when we talk about conditionals and truthy and falsy and stuff like that. Cool. All right, lab time. So we we ran through some of the basics of the stuff. You will need to pick up some of the things that we learned in the Golang course. So we will be using functions today. We will be using, maybe we're using a loop. I don't know if we're using any loops or not. We might use a loop. We're using variables, obviously. Yeah, we'll do a lot of that stuff. Maybe it'll feel very similar, just with different syntax, hopefully. But we're gonna set it all up. So perfect timing. I think we're gonna have time to do this. Oh yeah, and echo. Yeah, see, I thought there was another way. I swear there was an easier way to see. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. My brain is it's not working. I thought there was a simpler set of commands without having to and echo, but all good, not a big deal. We learned how to do it. You can just echo, I guess, the variable question mark. All right. So what's the lab that we're going to be doing tonight? Pretty simple. We're going to do this in 3 parts, maybe 4 if we have time. There are 3 parts in the slides, but there's some ways to make this a little bit better. And again, we're going to compare the work that we do here to the one in GitHub, because there is already one in GitHub that we worked on last time. Or last DevOps bootcamp, and I just want to see, when you write something and then you come back and you write it again, I want to see how it differs. So here is the scenario. You work at a sweet healthcare tech startup. So you got a job, you got a startup, healthcare startup. You just got some funding, so we're going to be adding a bunch of devs over the next few months. So we're talking about DevOps. Yes, DevOps is, a software methodology. It's a methodology to help build software faster, to help high velocity organizations move more quickly. But a lot of times, part of the job is to support that. Is you are also the arbiter of the systems, like you manage systems as well. Hopefully, you're managing cattle and not pets, but you generally have to manage systems. This is something that you might do. And again, this is the Linux portion. So if you were a Linux administrator, or you had to deal with Linux systems, this is something that you might have to do. So your team's adding, you guys got a bunch of funding. You're adding a bunch of devs over the next few months. You are the only one who knows how to do the process of adding users to the system properly. So no one at your company, this new startup, knows Linux all too well, and you're the only person who knows how to do it. So what we want to do is we want to automate this task so that others can assist you with dev onboarding. So this is commonly what you would want to do in DevOps, as a DevOps engineer, is kind of creating tools to enable your developers and the people you're servicing to be self-sufficient, so that they can move as fast as they want to move. So you often have to do things like this. So we're going to build a little script that we can pass on to people to help us onboard developers. Hey, Offlight, thank you for the follow. Welcome. All right. So what are the requirements here? We got some requirements here, and this is commonly how you're going to get stuff. You're going to get some tasks that you need done, and it's going to have some requirements. We need a script that can be run to do the following. One, as a user can be passed in as a command line argument. We just learned about arguments. It's going to be done through the command line. So we got to knock that part out. A user is created with the name of the command line argument. A user is created with the name of so we're going to create a user with the name that is passed in via the command line argument. A password can be passed in as a command line argument. So we're going to be able to set a password here as well. The password is then set for the user. And then a message of successful account creation is displayed. So we have 5 things that we want to accomplish here. We're going to open up our file. We're going to work through these 5 things. Now, we're going to build this as is right now. We're going to add to it later to make it a little bit better, but we're going to build it as is. We're not going to infer all the, yes, you could make this the sweetest user edition script ever, but what we're going to do right now is we're going to address each of these one by one. So take it nice and slow. First thing we're going to do is we're going to create the bash script. So you're going to be on your server, and we're going to remove this test.sh. All right, we're gonna create our bash script. So let's practice some Linux commands. Let's go back to the things we know. We want to create an empty file first. We don't have to do this, but we're just practicing commands. So we're gonna touch an empty file. What are we gonna call it? Let's call this create underscore user .sh. So let's take a look at what's in our directory, and we've got our empty file here. You can see 0 bytes there, and let's go ahead and edit. So I'm going to be using Vim for this because, again, something like this, you're going to be in a server that probably does not have a GUI or a graphical user interface. So you're going to have to use something like Vim or Nano. I'm going to use Vim, and I'll try to call out my keystrokes as I'm doing it. So let's go ahead and Vim. Create user.sh. I'm going to Vim the file that we just did, and Vimming is just a text editor, so I'm editing the file that we just made. So let's take a look right back at our requirements. So we know it needs to be a bash script. I probably should have put that in there as a requirement, but tonight we're doing bash scripting, so it makes sense. The first one, a user can be passed in as a command line argument. So first thing, let's set it up. Let's do our shebang at the top, /bin/bash. All right, we are now automating things. So there are a number of ways we could, there's one way we can get the information. There's a single way we can get the information, but there's a bunch of ways we can handle this. Again, we're going to handle this as is by default. To do this, a user can be passed in as a command line argument. Let's go back to what we said about our arguments. There are options that are passed into a script at runtime to be interpreted. So this information isn't passed in until we run the script. So I couldn't put my name in here. Like, let's say I want to pass in a user's name. I couldn't just like put my name, as a string in here or something. Couldn't just do that because we need to pass it in at runtime. This is not runtime. So, but these arguments are positional parameters. The location of the arguments matters. So for positional parameters, we can actually refer to them by their numbers in bash. Their positioning by a $, which is like a variable, and their number placement. So we can refer to the positional argument as something like this. We can do like a $1, and this will reference the first item, the first argument, the first positional parameter that is passed in. If I had two things, I could refer to that second item that's passed in as a $2. So let's just take a look at that real quick. So this only thing the script is going to do is it's going to echo, you have passed in $1 as a parameter. Cool. So it's going to spit out some information for us. All the script is going to do is I'm going to pass in a parameter, and then this is going to basically, hopefully, if we did it right, it's going to say you have passed in whatever we pass in as a parameter, just to confirm that we are passing in something properly. So let's go ahead and save that. To save in Vim is :WQ, but I actually use the shortcut Shift-ZZ. And I think someone else taught me last time, and let's see if I remember. Let me make a little edit here. I think you can do :X, and that saves and exits as well. So yes, pretty cool stuff. If you want to get good at Vim. But again, the common way to do this is :WQ to write and quit. All right, so we got our script here. And so let's just see what happens if we run it. So to run things in Linux, what do we say? You could do, first, let's check the permissions. We need to know that we have the permissions to execute it if we want to execute it in the way that we've already learned. So let's take a look. And this file has read and write privileges, but no execute, read and read, but no execute privileges there. But you can still run this. I could type in bash and run it. Generally, again, you execute things in Linux by calling its location. So generally you would do something like this, but it's not going to autofill for me because it's not executable. So the shell interprets that this is not an executable file, so I'm not even going to autocomplete this for you because I can't run this file. But you could actually pass in the shell interpreter, and I could say bash create user.sh, And if I run this and print it, if I just run it, it says you have passed in, and it has a blank space here as a parameter. It's looking for the first positional parameter, and I actually don't have any parameters here because this is the script, but I did not pass in anything. You may have been thinking it's going to be this first item. Actually, let's just make this executable first because I think it'll be easier visually this way. So I add the chmod plus X adds execution privileges to the file. You can see it changes colors and it gives everyone executable access. And again, I can kick it off like this. All right, so this makes a little more sense. I only have one thing here. It shouldn't confuse you as much with the number one, but you have passed in blank as a parameter. In the script, we put a $1 there, and it did not print that out again because it is a reference to a variable, and that variable is the first parameter that's passed in. So let's pass in a parameter. Let's just pass in anything, and we'll see if it spits that out. So if we do that, it says you have passed in this as a parameter. So I'm able to pass in information for it to interpret at runtime. So it doesn't know what I'm going to pass it in before it runs, but as it runs, it takes it as a positional argument and does whatever I want it to do with it. So I could pass in more things. I could pass in a bunch of things, again, separated by a space, and it would still work. But you can see there's no additional output because we haven't handled any of that. We haven't told the script to do anything with these additional places. So it still works, but it still works, but we're not actually using those things. So again, that argument is a positional parameter, and we can reference it by its number value, a $sign and its number value. So cool. So we've done that. So let's take a name. The first thing we want to do is we're just gonna echo $1. We're not even gonna do all that. We're just gonna echo $1, and so we're gonna practice passing a name the same way we just did. Nothing special. Aaron, and so Aaron gets passed out. So let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at the first requirement. A user can be passed as a command line argument. All right. So we just did that. We allowed for a user to be passed as a command line argument, and maybe we should put username. Possibly. We'll see what we're gonna do this. A user can be passed in as a command line argument. Number one, check that off. We pass something in. And again, you don't have to do anything special to set that up in Bash. You can pass in whatever you'd like, and you can read it. You can read its location based off of this. So I could, just to show you, I could do like 2, or I could do 3, and I could pass in. I would have to pass in 3 things for this to work. So the script does nothing because I didn't tell it to do anything with the first item that I passed in. But if I passed in Aaron, and my middle name is Lee, my last name is Brooks, I pass it in, it prints out Brooks because Brooks is the third thing that's passed in. It's a third positional argument. And we said here to echo number 3. So let's change it back to 1. And our script takes it. So we really wouldn't even have to do anything here. We could actually remove this entire line. Our script will still take it, but we're not doing anything with the name. Again, we're just doing it as, you're probably thinking of all the cool things we could be doing, but we're doing it as it's stated right now. All right, so number 2, a user is created with the name of the command line argument. So we learned in the first Linux, I believe in the first Linux one, maybe the second one, on how you create users on a Linux system. So the way that you create users on a Linux system is user add. It is different on different distributions, but I can tell you user add test user. And again, I've got a permission denied. So what do we have to do? We have to escalate we have to escalate our privileges using the sudo command, and we learned that we can do sudo bang bang, which will add sudo to the last command that we just ran. And so it's basically adding the user test user. It's asking for my password because I'm using sudo. So I'll type that in. And if we cat etsy users, etsy password, whoops, not etsy users, etsy password, you can see here we have this test user right here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to remove that test user because I don't want to get my computer all gross. I think it was a user delete. And if we look at that again, all right, we've removed our test user. So we know the command to add a user is user add. Bash scripting is not, it's nothing special. It's interpreting the command, it's bash, it's interpreting the commands that you give to it. So we can use exactly that command to do what we need to do. So vim create user.sh. So what we can do is we know we can take that positional parameter to create a user is simply user add. Well, let's do sudo user add. And we know we want to use the name that was passed in. So we can just do $1. So this is all you need. This is the command that basically we run from the command line. Imagine I replaced this with test user. This is the command that we just ran from the terminal. So this is the same command that we can use inside of the bash script. So it's not scary. Remember, you can generally, these bash scripts are things you can run manually yourself, line by line if you need to. Maybe not line by line, but generally you could run the steps manually. But we're going to replace test user with 1 so we can pass in that information. So hopefully this script we have so far will take in a name and it will try to add a user with that with the name that we passed in. So let's test that out. Create user.sh, and the first user we're going to make test user again, all one word, so that we know there's no overlap there. So run it. We get no output. So how do we check what the status code of that was? We can do, was it $? And so we got a 0 status code. We didn't get any errors. We know that 0 is a good thing. It exited successfully. And let's see if we have a user called test user. And look at that. We now have a user called test user. Hey, Ryan Warner Codes. Yeah, Ryan Warner Codes. Welcome. Thank you for the follow. But we have a user now. So let's go ahead and remove this user again. Sudo user del test user. And now look at it again, and we've removed that user. So we can test it a million times, but it looks like we already have created a script where we can pass in a name and it creates a user account on our computer, on this machine, for the user that we passed in. So let's take a look at our requirements again. A user is created with the name and the command line argument. So we've done that successfully. We can check off number 2. We've done 1 and we've done 2. And again, let's recap, because the more and more you say it, the more and more you drill it into your head, the easier it is to remember. But we passed in a command line argument. How do we read a command line argument? We can read it by its position. It's a positional argument. So we can refer to it by the number position it is. So it's not 0 indexed. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, however many you pass in. So we refer to it as 1 because it's the first thing we're passing in and the only thing that we're currently passing in. Now it says a password can be passed in as a command line argument. I'm not sure we've done that. So let's talk about how you set a password first. So we created the user, test user. Let's use our script again to create a user called test user. And so right now, I wouldn't need a password. Well, I'll probably have to sudo, but it wouldn't let me just because of my privileges. But this user it actually won't let me change this user because there's no direct password. There's no password associated with this user account. I would have to escalate my privileges to be able to take over that account. So I could do something like this. And now I'm a test user, and we learned that who am I lets you know who you are. How could I set a password for this user? Basically, we want to pass in an argument that we could use for the password. So let's say, first off, I just want to caveat with don't ever do this. Like, again, this is just a fun example. Don't ever make a script where you're passing in the password like this. Like it's weird. Don't do that. It's not good. It's not secure. But what do we know about passing command line arguments? We already know they're positional. We know we can pass in as many as we want and it'll be fine. So why don't we just pass in an extra one and then refer to it in our script? But how do we set a password? So for this test user, The way that we set a password is we do sudo pass WD. So this is how you set a password. This is how you reset your user password. You do pass WD and the name of the user. So test user. All right, and you can see here, it doesn't say just password like it wants me to enter my password. It says new password. So I can go ahead and I can type in the new password, which obviously is password 1. And it lets us know, you have to type it in twice to confirm. And it tells us that password has been updated successfully. We get a little output there so we know what's going on. So now if I try to change to this user, to test user, now I can just type in the password. So now I can type in, I almost forgot it already. Password 1, and it's not going to let me log in. And this is for a number of reasons, but not a number of reasons. This is for one very specific reason. We will fix this as a part of the script in a second. But if you're trying to log into the system as this user and it was set up properly, you would be able to use this password now to log in. We're going to update in the script. We're going to update it so that we can do this properly. Whoops. I did think about default. Okay, actually I had caps lock on, but I thought there was a no login in the, actually I could have checked the cat SC password. Obviously there was no, there was not a no login option in here. Okay, I thought I might have had a no login thing here. I just had caps lock on, so that's not a problem, but there are distributions. There are systems when you create a user, if you do not specify, like there's a lot of options when you create a user. We didn't go over those, but when you create a user, you can set up things like what their default shell is, where their home directory is, a bunch of options. There are systems that if you do not specify those things, it will default you to a no login shell, and you would not be able to log in by default with that password. You would have to make some changes to do so. So that's just what I was talking about there. But cool, we can log in now via that. So we just learned how we change the password for a Linux user. So let's go ahead and add that to the script. So, oh man, I left my shell and came back. So we are in documents, mastermind, streams. Linux. Bash scripts. Oh, must be in here. All right. Let's go ahead and add that in here. So let's actually add a comment. So we talked about how a comment to do this is with a pound or hashtag, and you see it goes gray and it looks like it's not a part of the code because it's not. So let's just say add user account with name passed in as first parameter. So just so we're going to add in some comments so people can understand our code if this is the first time you've ever seen it, or when we go back, we're going to push this to GitHub. If you're looking at it later and you're trying to decipher what was happening, you weren't really following along, and you're trying to, you're taking in some time to really get up to speed with what we did, you can know what each line does. So now we're going to say set password for user account that was just created with second parameter. All right, so if we use the name as the first parameter and we use a $1, we can now use $2 for the second parameter. So let's do sudo pass WD. We have to tell it which user account to set the password for. So we're just going to go ahead and use $1 again. We can use this variable for the placement again, and we can do the password. I think is $2. We might have to do something special here. Actually, I think we're gonna have to do something special here because I don't think you can pass in the password in line. Let me see. Pass WD test user. This is the fun of bash scripting. I think we ran into this last time too, and I completely forgot about it. Sudo pass WD test user and new password. Whoops, no, that's not what I wanted. Get out of here. Get out of here. There we go. All right, let's pass it in line. Let's say one of my password to be password 2. Okay, doesn't do that. So let's see what options we have here. We can do quiet mode. That's nice. Okay. All right. So what we may have to do this is we may have to add this in a different way. So this part is fun. So let's do a little Googling. And just so you guys know, I set this piece up on purpose because it stands to reason that we know how we could pass in the password, but how do we interact with a prompt? It's going to prompt us for a password. So let's actually run this right now. Let's run this as is. Let's sudo user delete the test user we just set up. Let's go and run this again. Create user.sh and let's do test user again. And so it's going to ask for the password. So it's not using what we passed in, and it's prompting us for that information. So script is working, and I could set it like this, and that's great. But I haven't achieved the requirements. I have not done what it wanted us to do. It says the password can be passed into the command line argument, and the password is set for the user. Right now, this will not do this. So let's do a little Googling and practice how you would go find out information like this. So we know that pass WD is how we set it. And we could say Linux set user password via script. And so this is very simple. Like, it's okay. It is very okay to go ahead and Google something like this. This is how you would find the answer to these things. So you can read through the art of finding information online to do what you want to do is always so interesting. Sometimes it's kind of like those recipes where it's like, they talk about their lives and their families and everything before. Like, you just want the recipe. All I want is the recipe. I don't need to know about your dog and your family, and you've been making this, been passed down for generations. Like, I just want to know the ingredients and how long to put it in the oven for and the temperature. And so sometimes this is how Linux answers are, or answers for any technical problem. But it is good information. I do recommend when you are first learning how to parse information like this, you read it, you take, because you'll learn a lot from it. You learn a whole lot from it, but read it, take it in before you kind of grab whatever you want. But I'm looking for some commands. I know, these look really cool. So it says, so to change the password in our example, we just execute this one command. So it looks like they're going to echo the password. And so we know the echo prints to standard output. This is how you display text. This is how you display output with the echo command. We've done this before. So it looks like they're going to basically spit their command out. But then they're going to pipe it into another command. And so they're going to pass it to the pipe. Remember the pipe, it takes the output from what's on the left side and it puts it into the stuff on the right. And so it's going to pass in that information to the password command. And it looks like it's going to take it from STDIN. This is standard input. So when you type stuff in, that's standard input. When it spits out on the screen, that's standard output. So it's gonna basically take it in from standard input, and it looks like this is the user that we want. So let's copy and paste this, and let's see if we can construct this in our own command. So let's paste it. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna put it in the script first. And so when you're making bash scripts and you're trying to figure out what to do, if you're creating a new command that you've never created before, I don't think that you should just be sticking stuff in the script and trying to run it. You need to work out the command. And sometimes working out that command takes time. So I'm going to put it in here and I'm going to cat it so I can see it. I'm just going to cat this so I can see it. And I'm going to take this line right here and I'm going to figure out what to do with this. So echo. And I'm just going to use exactly what they put in here. Linux password is the password. All right, so we know this does this, it spits it out. So it sends it out to the to standard output. We're gonna add in our pipe, which is gonna pass it over into the password command. And we have this standard in flag that will allow us to take from standard input. And then Linux user, we know our user is actually test user. And let's go ahead and check if this works. We hit this, doesn't work. This does not work. Unrecognized option, STDIN. So let's take a look at what we just read. And so again, this is why you have to go back and read. There's probably information on here, in here on why this doesn't work. Yeah, there's probably information in here on why it doesn't work. And so it doesn't work for us. We could search around, but we could also say, we can also check this one where they're doing this instead. Let's see. The password command asks for the new password twice. These are the inputs, same password. So we know that that happens. They're asking for standard input, and it's asking for the input that you can enter in twice. We can emulate this by the echo command with the -E option set. When -E is in effect, escape characters will be interpreted. Hence, in echoes, input, echoed a new line. In addition, on modern Linux with sufficiently new password, you can use the standard in option to let password accept a password from standard in instead of asking for the new password twice. So, you know, for us, this doesn't appear to be working properly. So you can take a look at it. You can say, oh, like, I ran it. It doesn't look like I can take the standard in. Let's go ahead and try to use the other option. It says we should be able to use that, but didn't work for us. So let's go ahead and give in the -E here and remove the standard in on the other side. So -E. And we do this, and it says password, you may not view or modify password information for test user. So what does that sound like to us? That sounds like like we don't have access, we don't have permissions. So what can we do to fix that? Maybe we can do something like this. And it looks like it tried to do it. Retype new password, password change aborted, authentication token manipulation error, password unchanged. We ran into another problem. So let's see what's going on with that. It says, let's see if there's anything else in here about this. Let's put it into a bash script and execute it remotely. So it looks like they want to do the same thing that we're doing, but they're not. Let's see what else we can do. Alternatively method, use ch password, which is interesting here. So maybe we can run down that path. So I want you guys to let me know if you want to run down this path, because I think this is very important. Like, just watching how to troubleshoot this is very important. Should we run down this path, or should we run down the ch password path? So read about what ch password is. It's a nice tool to change a batch of accounts passwords in one Linux box. Is that what we want to do right now? I don't know. Do we want to do that? Or do we want to continue trying to figure out this piece? I'm going to take the answer of the first person who lets me know. Where did this go? Oops. Yes. Okay. We will do that, which let me set this properly. 1 second. CHPass, yes, because CHPass is so distro dependent. So I'm confused. So you're saying, Bible Claim member, you're saying use pass? And Andrew said yes. I'm gonna assume both of you are saying yes, go ahead and do that. Go ahead and do that. And so we can check its manual. The yes was a joke. All right, cool. So password. This is the man page. This is a man page online for the password. So it reads a list of username and password pairs from standard input and uses information to update the group of existing users, each line in the format. So it looks like we can create a file to do this, but let's go ahead and just try this out. Let's go ahead and try this out. So it looks like we're gonna have to put them on the same line. And so again, I said it takes time to be able to parse information like this. So if you got this far on your own and you're still trying to figure this out, you can just say should pass word example. And you can look for it that way. You don't need to immediately understand how to do something like that. You can go ahead and you can look around and see if you can find an example of someone doing this. So it looks like, let's make this a little larger, a lot larger. And it looks like it can take a password file. So maybe we'll do that a little bit later. Using password will give us this option here, but it looks like I wish this gave us a better option. I'm trying not to jump over because I know what to do. I'm trying not to jump over a bunch of stuff. But it looks like we have to give it the information as the username, password, and maybe that'll set it. So maybe let's look up one more option to see if someone shows us how to actually do it, like inline. So they're using a file. We're going to do that later. I was hoping to find one example, but okay. So they're reading in a file from standard input. The command says we can do something from standard input. So if we do man should pass word. Again, it says we can update it. It takes a list from standard input. So let's pass something in a standard input and try to use it. So maybe we can take what we have here. I'm not sure we need the -e. I think we just need, let's pass it to, let's see if we need the sudo or not, password. But it looked like from the examples, and it may take you a couple times to try to get this, but it looks like you need the username password. And that's what we were seeing in the other example as well. So let's go ahead and try that. So the username we want, what was the user we wanted? It was test user and password. So we're going to spit out to standard input, user test user, and the password that we want, which is Linux password. And we're going to pipe that into password, to the ch password command. And let's hit enter here and see what happens. Changing password for test user. So authentication, token, manipulation, password not changed. So let's figure out what's going on there. It might be because for a number of reasons. But one of the things that we can check is we can mess around and see if we knew we need sudo before. So let's check if sudo works. And we added a sudo and it kicked us out and we got no error. So if we're not sure what happened, we can go ahead and do this again and we got a 0. So that looks, it looks good. Everything appears to be right. So Linux password is the password. So maybe if I try to su minus test user and I type in Linux, I already messed up. Linux password, actually I typed it properly and that worked. You couldn't see me type it, but it did work. So it did update the password to Linux password. So let me get out of this and let me rerun it. Let's change it back to like password 1. And just to confirm, and we get no exit, we get no error, and we can see it exited successfully. If I try to change it, I use a new password. And it works. So we've successfully figured out how to change the password. So let's see if we can take exactly this and apply it to our script. So I'm gonna copy this. Let's go ahead into our script and check something out. So create user. All right, so we had this here before. This is the new thing that we have. So let's set this up. We see that we have username, password. So let's delete this line and this line. So we're gonna set our password. So the user that we need, let's replace this with $1. Let's replace our password with, again, we could use any number that we'd like, but we would have to pass in enough parameters for it to get there. So we'll just use 2. So it should build a string that has the user first, :password, and it should pass it to your password. So let's create a new user using our script. So we're going to pass in a new user. Let's call it test user 2. We are not being clever tonight. And that's the first positional parameter. The second positional parameter we're going to use is the password. And again, let's just use the Linux password here. I hate when these songs come on that have music in them. It's amazing how it throws me off. All right, we're back. So first argument, second argument, and let's go ahead and hit enter. And again, it looks like we got a good success code. Exit code was 0, so it looks like we're good to go here. We can look at our etc password file, and we can see here we still have test user here, but now we have a test user 2. So it did get created, and if I want to sue to test user 2, and I think we typed it in as Linux password, and it works. And I can type in who am I, and so we've created a user now. It takes in a username and a password via command line arguments, and it sets those accordingly. So yeah, so we've done 2 things here, and let's see where we are with the lab. The password set for the user. And the last thing is a message of successful account creation is displayed. So we've done 1 through 4. User can be passed in as a command line argument. Right now it's passed in as $1 because it's the first positional argument. Check. User is created with the name of the command line argument. So we have a user add command, which takes that $1 parameter and it makes that user. Confirm. Check. A password can be passed in as a command line argument. We are passing it in as the second argument and referring to it as $2. Check. The password is set for the user. We just confirmed that. I just logged in as test user 2 using the password that we set. Check. And the last thing we need to do for scenario part 1 is a message of successful account creation is displayed. So let's send a message. We know how to send a message, and let's send message of successful account creation. And how do we display output? We can just use an echo, and we can say account for, let's get real specific here, account for $1 has been created. So this will be good because the output will let us know exactly who an account was created for. And just so you know that bash scripts, if any of these commands fail, it will deliver that exit code immediately. For these commands at least, it would deliver them immediately, and it'll actually never make it down here if it were to fail. It would actually deliver the exit code and exit out of the bash script. So we know that if this happens successfully, we can send this. But let's actually go ahead and add a little more resiliency for this. Let's add some resiliency for this. It's uglier to read. Should we do this? It's ugly to read, but again, we want to practice Linux stuff. Like we want to just get our hands on more Linux stuff. So we learned how to chain commands together, and we learned about the. Actually, we didn't. I don't think we actually learned about this, but what you can do is you can chain Linux commands together. We learned about chaining them together via the pipe, but you can also do them with something like, is it 1 or 2? Can't remember right now, actually, making me second guess myself. You can chain them together. One way you can chain them together is basically run this command after, just run this first command, then run the second command, then run the third command, no matter what the output is. But I think it's $. I'll check this in a second. Man, I'm confusing myself. But what I believe the $$ will do, if this is the one that I want it to be, is it will ensure that the first command is run successfully. So if this isn't done successfully, it won't do this. So it's when you chain commands together like this, it's kind of nice because if it's something that you only want to happen upon success, this ensures that it will only be done upon a successful account add. So I could actually combine the 3 of these together. I could combine all of them together if I wanted, but I'm gonna leave it like this just to show a point. This is not the Again, we're not looking for the cleanest way to make this script. We just want to practice a bunch of different things. So let's add to this so we know what's happening here. Set password for user account that was just created with a second parameter, and only send successful message. Send successful message if password exits successfully. So anything after this double ampersand will only run if this on the left exits with a 0 status code. I have double ampersands in here. Oh yeah, gotcha. Never mind, I gotcha. Man, I gotcha. Actually, I forgot to tell you guys I have some lemon LaCroix here tonight. I also have the lime again. The lime's always for backup. Lemon's here for the for prime time. So let's run this and see what happens. Let's make it test user 3. All right, and we did not get. Oh, that was dumb. Maybe that was hold on. What's happened? So it ran. We did not get the thing that we thought we were going to get. I think I'm thinking of Docker files. Bash, run multiple commands. Why is my brain breaking? So a semicolon will allow you to do multiple ones in succession. But again, it says here, regardless of whether the previous command succeeds or not. So that is one way to do it, with a semicolon instead of the ampersands. And it is an and. How come it did not work? Let's see. Oh, because I did dollar signs. Man, I'm sleepy. I think I said ampersand, and I looked at them and they looked like ampersands when I typed them in. This is why we should stream earlier, but I don't have time to stream earlier. That was dumb. Oh yes, Bork's like you caught it. Yeah, that's process ID. That was really stupid. All right, so test user 3 already exists. Let's go ahead and user delete. Hey, auto exec. Oh, thanks for the sub, auto exec. Welcome back tonight. Oh, thanks for the John Wonton. Appreciate the gift of subs. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much for that. Welcome everyone who doesn't have a sub. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the family. Hop in there. You'll get. I'll make sure to get you guys information about the Google Classroom. If you don't know, if you didn't know, if you're subscribed, you get access to Google Classroom, which has some additional resources and information in it that drop right before the class begins. So tonight there's a few things about like some bash cheat sheets and things like that for tonight. So thank you very much, John Wonton. Really appreciate it. So what was I about to do? I was going to delete test user 3. I'm going to delete test user 2 and test user. And let's look at our code again. Oh, we changed it. We changed our code to work properly this time. So now that we use the double ampersands and not double dollar signs like we meant to do, we have an output here. Account for test user 3 has been created. So it took our test user, it took our input in, and it delivered it in the output. It filled it in and let us know an account was created. And if we cat sd password, we can see here that test user 3 is here and ready to go. So we have now successfully completed part 1 of the Bash scripting lab. And again, we have 3 parts here. So very simple. Again, not an amazing script, but simple. It's simple and it works. So let's take a look at it. A pretty simple script. All it does is it adds a user. We only have 2 commands in here and we were able to successfully do a bunch of stuff. Well, 3 commands really. Then we were able to use the echo command and the password command to change the password for the user. And then upon successful completion of that, we were able to send out a message saying that we created an account. So let's see. How about sudo user add -m $1 p2? Huh? I wonder if that would work. I don't know. Let's see if that works. Is p an add user? Let's actually check, man. So viable clan member just posted a command that's using a few command line flags. So we can check just to make sure we know that they work properly. We can check the add user command to see if these are options. So let's go down and see if we can get to the single digit. Oh, where are they all at? Over there up top. Options. I don't see a password option, but we can test it out. I don't see any individual letter options either. Looks like it's all words. So let's try it out. Let's try that out really quick. So, yes, user add and not add user. Yes. All right. So there we go. Now we have some letters that we care about. That make a little more sense. Let's see if there's a -p in here. So -m is create home directory. So remember I told you guys there was a bunch of options for creating a user. Again, you could specify the home directory. You could tell it not to create a home directory. You could tell it not to add a group for it. You could tell them to add them to groups. You can do all kinds of stuff when you are creating a user. But we're just doing the base things. Password, the encrypted password as returned by crypt. The default is to disable the password. This option is not recommended because password will be visible by listing the process. You should make sure the password respects the system's password policy. So let's go ahead and try that. Sudo add user, and maybe we can add this in as a comment if this works properly. Add user -m. Well, we don't need the -m. That's just going to set the home directory. It's going to by default set something, but we can do a $1. Actually, we can't do $1 because this is not positional parameter. We're not passing anything in. So test user test. We're getting crazy now. Now we are getting creative. And then we'll add a -p and we will do Linux password. And is that your whole thing there? Let's see if that works. Did I type that properly? What's the error here? Unknown option -p. Oh, because I did add user and not user add. And it looks like, there we go. So that did work. So let's do user del. Test user. So, what are we using here? What are we using in the, we are using user add. I want to say, test the password though. Yeah, I'll check it out. But I want to say, which one of these is Debian specific, isn't it? All right. Test the password. Su minus test user test. Oh, did I just delete it? Oh yeah, I did just delete it. Ignore that. We can re-add it with our suite. Oh no, we didn't script this. And Linux. That does not appear. Control P. Does not work. Are you saying Control P to paste it? Grep for it. I mean, user add image. Yes, definitely create home directory. I'm not sure what you're saying. For this, user add is a script in Debian, I believe, where user add is both Debian and Fedora RHEL. One of them is not. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so user add is in both. Yeah. Yes. So I can't use a password. I don't know why I can't use it. I've never passed in a password -p, and it said some information in there about some cryptography. I don't know. I don't know why I can't log in. Is there a specific reason why I can't log in, or are there any caveats with this? I'll just copy and paste just to make sure I'm putting it in properly. Let's look and see if this gave it a no login. CRCat. No, it's got a login. It's got a bin sh login. All right, we'll check that out later. That's interesting. I didn't know you could do that, so that is good to know. Let me put that. I'm actually going to put that in the script. Let's put that in the script because if that may be an easier option for people if someone can figure out why it works. Oh, so you got to pass in an encrypted password. So basically, what I passed in is basically an incorrectly hashed password, so it's equal to something completely different. That makes sense, actually. So actually, now we got to check that. I gotta do that real quick. Password hash. Excuse me, man. This LaCroix is messing me up. No. Well, I'm not gonna do this right now. But basically, I could use a tool to basically your name's purple, so I can't see it. What Verithian is basically saying is that the password is actually an encrypted password. So I believe that means I could go to I could generate a hash for a password for a string that I wanted it to be, and it would give me a much longer encrypted password, and I could use that. I could pass that in as my password. Or I can pass that in as the option there. And then I would be able to use my password, but it's passed in as a hashed password. It's an encrypted password. So that's cool. That makes a little more sense. I was like, I think that's why I was confused when Viable Clan Member, when you first pasted it, I was like, it seems weird they would give you that option because it seems very insecure. You'll be able to get it through so many different things, but I guess you can still, do that, but it makes a little more sense if it's encrypted. So that's interesting. Yeah, I could use OpenSSL to encrypt it. That will probably work. I will try that. We'll try that in a little bit. But let me go ahead and keep moving along with this. See, there's always some new fun stuff to try out in Linux. Where are we? CD streams, CD Linux. I think that's where we are. Nope. Thought that was the last. I keep thinking I'm in the last file. Let's go ahead and add something here. Can also use user add username -p encrypted password, in case anyone wants to try that out, or just a note so we can go back and try it out. So we've done number one. Does anyone have any questions on this first part? The things that we've done so far. Does anyone have any questions on basically command line arguments? Any questions about adding a user, adding a password, or how we handle those command line arguments, or anything that we did in the script? I'll pull the script back up so that you can take a look at it. 100 ways to do anything in Linux. Yes, there are many ways to do just about everything. This is the nature of like tech period. This is why it's tough, because this is why you have to get good at the concepts and get good at problem solving, because there's so many ways to do things, and there's different caveats on why some things are better, and it's usually situation dependent, so it's pretty interesting. All right. Cool. Let's move on to 9:30. Let's move on to the next part. So we're going to extend this script just a bit. So scenario 1, requirements bonus. I forgot this was in here. Let's make it a little more readable. So capture the command line arguments as variables and use those variables to reference the values in the script. So this is just to make our script a little more readable and to introduce variables into this process. So we'll move through this part pretty quick, but what we can do is the same way that we use variables in Go or Python, we can use variables in Bash. Bash has variables as well. And the way you do variables is just capital letters. So if I did, so for name, so I could type in username equals $1. So I'm creating a variable called username, and I'm assigning the value of whatever is in the first positional parameter. And then I could do something like this. I could do password equals $2. So now instead of referring to these positional parameters in the script, I can simply use the variables to make it a little more readable. Again, this I think this makes it a little more sense as if other people are looking at this, it makes more sense. So we can replace $1 here with username, and we can change this down here to username. And we can change this to password. And we can go ahead and test this. Does $1 with quotes make it more secure? No. Are you talking about in the script itself? I feel like you're just trolling. I don't know what your question is. Or are you referring back to your OpenSSL thing? But you didn't even have $1 in there. You're confusing me. You're breaking my brain. It's late on a Sunday. What am I? All right, create user. Let's create another user called test. I'm gonna delete all these people. Test. And password is password. Create it. Test has been created, so it still worked. So minus test and test. Missed a T on the second time. Password. And I'm in. So that did work. Everything still works according to plan. We'll start to use, oh yes, yeah, to make it a string. Yes, Bash will try to interpret properly. You can do correct. You can do this to kind of make sure that Bash interprets it properly as a string, and not an integer. It does interpret types as well. Like types are our thing. But yes, you can. You're right. That's probably best to do here. And user del test sudo, and I'll re-add this again just to make sure it works as intended. But yes, you can put those things there for sure. And again, the benefit is that if you want it to be interpreted as a string, you should put those quotes there to make sure it's interpreted properly as a string. But usually Bash is pretty good about that. All right, so that was the bonus. The bonus was just using variables. So again, let's take a look at what we got. And all we did is add these two lines, declared a variable. We assigned it the value of the first positional parameter, and we created another one and assigned it the value of the second positional parameter, and then we use it down here. And actually, I forgot to change this one here. This is supposed to be username. Cool. All right. Let's go back up and recap. We learned a little bit about the shebang. We have the shebang up at the top there, letting it know it wants to use bash. Use standard Linux commands to automate actions. So we didn't do anything fancy. We used basic Linux commands to automate some actions. We use what we learned in programming fundamentals to use variables and make the script more readable and easier to work with. Again, by adding in what we added here, it makes more sense that we are adding the username. Like if you didn't know what $1 was, you would at least know here that we were probably adding a username via the user add command here, and it will make a little more sense as you got below. A little bit more descriptive. And I was going 1, 2, 3, depending on how many. Yes. Yes, it will start from 1 and go up depending on how many you need. You can't really skip numbers. You can refer to numbers and it just won't work. But like, yep, it'll just go up in order as you need them. Cool. Let's see what part 2 is. So scenario part 2, success. So we got our script. The script you wrote is allowing other engineers on the team to help assist you with onboarding new engineers. It's pretty easy for them now. All they need to know is how to run the script, and they can go ahead and add users to the system. Although it's working well, there are some pain points. There are always pain points, especially with tools you're going to be building to help people be a little more autonomous. There are pain points here. The first one is that some of our engineers find it cumbersome to have to generate a secure password. They find it cumbersome to, like everyone's password needs to be secure nowadays. Maybe our company has a pretty strict password policy, and generating a secure password feels cumbersome to them to be able to plug in there. The second is that there is no standard way of distributing this information to the new employee. So it sounds like we are, they've used this to create the script, but we've created the script to be able to make the users, but there's no easy way to get the information to who it needs to go to. And then lastly, there's a document that the company, with the company rules that we want to distribute to each of the users' home directories so they have access to it when they log in. So we've been introduced to a lot more things here that we are not familiar with. So let's take a look at the requirements here. So our script needs to be extended to the following. So we already have a script to work off of. It needs to be extended to do the following. A random password is generated if no password is passed in as an argument. There's a lot to unpack there, or maybe not a lot to unpack, but there's some logic there. There's some logic there that we haven't done yet in Bash. The username and password for newly created user are written to a file. So it sounds like once we create that person, we can write that to a file. The file is sent as an email attachment to the user with a success message. So we can do that. And the file with the user credentials is deleted from the system. So up here, we are writing a file with the username and password, which is important. And then we're using it to email, but after we email it, we don't want to keep it on the system. We don't want to just keep this file around with someone's login information. So we're going to go ahead and remove it from the system. And then the company rules file is in the home directory, ends up in the user's home directory. So a bunch of things here, and let's go ahead and knock this stuff out. This is a lot of stuff. So a random password is generated if no password is passed in this argument. How are we going to do this? You have no idea how to generate a random password? You just type in bash generate random, it says random number. I will say generate random string. We'll type in password. We'll type in password just because I think it'll change the results that we get back. So the first option is 10 ways to generate a random password in Linux. So it sounds like we might have 10 different options for doing this. So if you were really doing this in a production environment or just doing this for a company, you probably, it might be harder if you had very specific password rules, but there are a million ways to do this. But let's just go ahead and grab one of them and see if they work. So for any random password commands, you can either modify them to output a different password length, or you can just use the first X characters. So let's take a look at, let's paste some of these in and see what we start getting. And we'll break down the commands just a little bit, but we're not going to dive too deep into that. We just want to generate a random password. We want to be able to do that. So let's take this command. I don't want to do this in, there we go, clear. Paste this in, And it looks like this generated a pretty random string. Let's go ahead and run it again. And it looks like our string is different. Okay, I want to show you guys. That's what I want to show you. So first time we ran it, we got one string. And you can see here we waited and we ran it again. And these two things are different. But I ran it here and then I ran it immediately, really fast. I moved super fast, so you might not have seen exactly what I did. But I ran it again and I actually got the same output. This is just something to be aware of. Whenever you see a random password thing using something like the date here, so it's using the second, it's basically using the date. So there's a date command in Linux that gives you the date and the time. It's basically using this as a seed to seed this random hash. But because it's using that as input, if you were to pass in the same time, again, it would give you the same output. And so when I ran it twice super fast, it gave me this. So if we were writing a script to set a lot of people's passwords all at once, this is probably not the best option, but we can go ahead and use it. It's not super important right now. We can use this now, but if you're doing this with a big list, you might have a bunch of people with the same exact password, depending on how fast the script runs, or every few chunks of people would have the same password. So there's a lot more options here. We can just try some of these other ones. I'm just skipping around since there are 10 in here, which may work a little bit better, but we can use really any of these, and it's giving us new ones. So let's go ahead and use that one. I like the OpenSSL one. Great. We're generating a long string. It's pretty great. So let's, pretty easy. You see how we didn't need to know a bunch of Linux to do this. We Googled it, found some commands, we tried them out. Sometimes this will be detrimental to you, but right now this is a good thing. Looks good for us. Check with the people you're working with, make sure you're good to go. But this will solve our problem here. So first one, a random password is generated if no password is passed in as an argument. So how do we do something like this? Basically we need to check if anything is passed in the password. The password is passed in as what? The second option. It's passed in as the second option. So there's a number of ways we can do this. We can use those conditions. We can use an if statement to kind of check for this. You can check, there's a million things you can check for. You can actually check for the existence of making sure that it's not null or empty. You can check the length of password to see if it's, like 0. So there are a number of ways you can do it. One common way you'll see people do something like this is we'll say, instead of setting this password, we'll say something like if. So you can use if statements in Bash, and then you can use you have to use these square brackets to set. You use the square brackets to set the conditional. So remember, if statement basically evaluates a statement to be either true or false, and then it determines what to do based on whether or not that value is true or false. In Linux, you can use this like -z to see if this thing is even here. So I can do something like this, like check for $2. So it'll check if password was even passed in at all. And so if it is, I can like do something. And so that's how if statement work here. So if this statement was true, I would do something. If not, I would do something else. It's not quite like that. It's a then. It's if this is true, then do this. So I could say something like, if this didn't exist, then the password is equal to V. And so maybe I don't even need to set password up here because we're handling password elsewhere. So I'll remove this for now. And we'll set our username up top. And down here, if this is here, this is empty, go ahead and generate us a password. We might have to do something like, this may not just work. We might have to either do this or do like an eval or something, but you can run a command and assign the output of that command to a variable, and we'll check that in a second. And actually, again, you can do stuff like this over here. So I could do password. Let's echo password to make sure it's empty right now. And so I could do something like password equals hey Larry Tuley. Welcome to the stream. Thank you for the follow. But I can do something like this: password equals test password, and this would set a variable, an environment variable for my shell right here, because it's an interpreter. The same way that we can kind of do this in Python as well. It holds those values, but it's only available right here. And then I could echo $password, and there's a variable, so I can reassign it. So it is working. So let's reassign it with the command. Now, I don't think I can just pass it in like this. I think I need to yeah, it doesn't know how to do that. Can I just wrap it? Or do I have to do an eval? Yeah, that didn't work. Let me eval this. Or I think I could do a $sign in front of it. This feels, yeah, there we go. All right, so I can put a $sign in front of it, and it'll evaluate that. So we can add that to our script really quick. All right, but I'm gonna put this in here just so we have it. But let's see how this if statement works. So I'm going to comment this out for now, and we're gonna say basically if password if 2's not there, then echo no password passed in. We're gonna that, and then you have to end it with a phi. Super weird. Let me show you guys this. Bash if statements. Bash is super weird for like if statements and case statements. Like case statements end in you have to like flip the word backwards. I don't know why. I've been meaning to look up why this is the case. No pun intended, but it's like case backward. Like after you specify a case statement, you gotta like do case and then esac at the bottom, and if statements, if and phi, and it's all like super weird to like denote that you're ending the statement. But I wonder, but yeah, just showing you what it kind of looks like. So it looks, you have the if here, then you have the phi here. But you can also do, the same things. You can do an if else. You can do all kinds of stuff. And so you can get basically a list of the if statement, like the evaluation statements and what you can pass in. So there's still greater than and less than and all that stuff that you could do in here, but it's a little bit different. So like -GT is greater than, rather than doing a little alligator mouth or whatever. So it's just something to learn. Same concepts still apply, but you might have to go refer and find out what you need to use. So you saw me pass in a -Z for the string, and this says the length of string is 0. So it's checking this. It's checking the length of the string. It's an easy way to check the length of the string. So I didn't have to type in length string equals 0. -Z is an easy thing, operator that I have here to check if the string is 0. So if the string length is 0, that means it wasn't passed in. And so I could have left password up here and checked password right here instead of $2. Both of these work fine. Both of these work completely fine. Again, we're not trying to make this a perfect script. We are we're learning the concepts here. So if it's empty, we're going to echo no password passed in. And so let's do an if else here. So you might want to type in like bash if else and see what you just have here. But this, I like doing this so people can get I really want you to get comfortable doing, like, not being afraid to just be like, I'm just gonna Google what I actually type. So again, just like all the rest of the stuff, if then else. So we'll type in else, but it's inside of that phi. So I can say Whoops. What does this look like? Statements. Let me do it like how they have it, just so. And echo, else, echo the password. Actually, let's keep it how it was. It'll be cleaner. It'll be more understandable as you go back and look at it. Password equals $2. If Z is of length 0, then go ahead and say no password passed in. Else, go ahead and echo the password. And actually, we're going to remove this user add as well, just so that it doesn't do anything right now. I don't want it to add a bunch of users. We just want to test some stuff out. So let's say I do /create user and I pass in Aaron and I don't pass in anything else. So I'm going to do it. It says no password passed in. So I didn't pass in a password. I only passed in a username, and that if statement evaluated properly. It says no password passed in, and it's trying to do some other stuff there. What is it trying to do? Oh, I should have commented out this as well. So no password passed in, but if I pass in a password, which is this, it echoes out the password. So we've done a conditional properly. It's checking the length of what's being passed in. And if I don't pass in anything, it lets me know nothing's passed in. And if I do, it prints this out. So now we're able to take action. We're able to take action based on what we know, based on what's passed in. So let's take this and let's put this back in. Let's delete this line, and we're not going to echo anything. We're going to set password. So basically what we're going to do is we are going to, if password's not there, if password is of 0 length, we're going to go ahead and create this password for us. If not, we don't need to do anything. If not, we can just do fi. So why can't we just do this? Why don't we need an else statement? We don't, because we moved the password up here. So it tries to set the password up front. So if we don't pass in anything as positional item number 2, it should get set to an empty string. It should get set to an empty string. And so it'll be empty up here. And when it hits here, it'll still be empty here. It'll be of 0 length, of zero length. And then it'll go ahead and it'll set it. So let's basically do exactly that. And let's just echo out password. So we will not pass in a password, and it gives us a long password. But if we type in a password, it prints out our password because it sets the password to that. So basically it's saying, if you pass it in, use what was passed in. If you did not pass it in, go ahead and generate this for us. So we've done some fancy stuff here. So again, this is where someone asked, like, where does the Go stuff kind of meet with the Bash, the Linux stuff that we're learning? Again, we're not writing Go here, but if statements, conditionals, checking if something's true or false, all this stuff is the stuff that we've already learned in the programming section. And now we're putting it into action. So we can remove that and we can move, let's see, we're going to take all of this. And so just so you guys can learn a little Vim foo, I'm going to take all these comments. I'm going to move these comments down to line 15. So it's, it's a part of this still. So I'm going to hit Shift V to go into visual mode. And I'm going to hit my down arrow to get all the lines that I want. So visual shift, if you do a Shift V, it will actually select entire lines. If you just do a V, it can select entire lines, but you have to only if you go down, you can also go side to side. I think Shift V will not do that, I believe. Yeah, Shift V will go ahead and select the whole line for you. So I'm going to hit Shift V to go into visual mode, select all the lines that I want. I'm going to hit X to cut them away, to delete them basically. And then I'm gonna go down to line 13 and I'm gonna hit P to paste them back in. So I'll go ahead and delete this line. So now I move those comments down here. Not really super necessary. at all. Let's add this line back in because we're adding in a username. Let's add a space here to clean it up a little bit. And we can say check if the length of password that was passed in is 0. If so, generate random password. All right, so we have a couple things here. We've gone ahead and we have made sure that we did the first part of part 2. Now we need to, the username and the password for the newly created users are written to a file. Let's hit Google again. You don't need to know how to do this stuff offhand or memorize it. You really don't need to memorize it. You'll pick up the Linux stuff that matters over time. You can Google the rest. Like, don't waste your memory bandwidth on things you won't be doing often. If you need to do this a lot, then you should memorize it. But if not, don't. So Linux, write to file. But actually, so we already know how to write to a file. But if you didn't know how to, if you weren't really thinking about it, you would find something like this. We've done this before. Write shell script, and it looks like you may not understand this at first when you're looking at it, but you've seen things like this before. It's a redirect, like a redirect. Output redirect. It's an output redirect. So it's gonna force whatever's going to send it out to go somewhere else. And actually, we've catted things to files before when we learned how to manipulate text. So let's use those redirect modifiers to go ahead and write something to a file. So remember, we can do something like this. Maybe I'll make a file first. You don't need to make a file first, but you can. So let's touch test.txt. So we have a simple text file here. And if we want to put information into it, I can do echo, and I can redirect the output and say, you can do one or two. Again, one of them overwrites, one of them appends. I think a single one overwrites completely and double appends, I believe. I never remember that. So I could do echo. Here are some words. And I can echo them into that test.txt file that we just wrote. And if I cat, remember cat is short for concatenate. This will spit out the contents of a file. It's a standard output. And here are some words are now in this file. So if I vim it, these words are in here. So I was able to stick those in there. And we can change this and cat it again. And yeah, so a single arrow overwrites what's in the file. But if I were to run this again and add a double one, it's going to add a whole new line. It's going to append to it. It's actually going to add it to the end of that. It's not going to add a new line. It's going to add it to the end. I cat it again. Oh, I did add a new line. I thought it was going to add it. I thought it was just going to stick it right here. But yes, so you can use those operators to add to a file. So we can use this same thing, this same paradigm in our script to be able to save what we want to a file. So let's remove test.txt. All right, let's take a look back at this. And we've got a cool script. Script's really coming together. It's got a lot of colors in it. That's how you know you're doing real work, when you get a bunch of colors. All right, so we need to write the username and password to a file. So let's go ahead and use our echo command, or let's say write username and password to a file. All right, so we're going to use our echo. Actually, let's go ahead and just, again, practicing Linux commands. Let's create the file first. You don't need to. We can do some things like check if this file is empty, and if it is, delete it, or if it's not empty, delete it. You can do a bunch of stuff, but right now we're just going to create a file, and we're going to call it credentials.txt. And then let's go ahead and echo. What do we need to echo into it? We need to echo username and password. So first, let's go username first. Let's echo username. Actually, let's do this. Echo here. Welcome to our company. Here are your login credentials. All right. So it's going to give them a nice welcoming line first. And then we're going to go ahead and echo in first username. And their username, with a little space, is going to be $username. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to echo password as well on a new line. And we're setting this up properly. So these echo commands, we're going to touch a file, and with 3 echo commands. We all know what echo. We know what echo does now. So this is just going to spit out some information, but we didn't say anything about writing to a file. We didn't do any of those output operators or those redirect operators. So go ahead and add all these to our file. So credentials. We created a file, and we are going to credentials.txt. Hey, my new brain. Welcome. Thank you for the follow. So we're going to add that there, and we're going to add it here. And we're going to go ahead and add it one more time. So this is going to add 3 lines to this file. All right, it's going to add 3 lines to the file. It's going to create a file, and it's going to go ahead and add 3 lines. Let's run this, and let's see if this works. So first, let's make sure our user list isn't crazy. Let's sudo user del. I wonder if do wildcards work with I wonder if wildcards work with users. About to find out right now. No. Let's see, test user 3. Let's do test user test and test est. All right, so we're cleaned up. All right, we're cleaned up now. So let's use our script and let's generate a real user. So our user is going to be, maybe there's a new person on team, and maybe her name is Amy.Smith. Maybe that's the username that we want to use. Maybe we want to go first name dot last name. We're not going to pass in a password because, again, remember, that's cumbersome. It's cumbersome. And we added in functionality to generate this for us. So let's go ahead and let's see what happens when we try to generate a user, Amy.Smith. We run it. An account was created for Amy.Smith. Did we write a file correctly? We do an LL. We get a credentials.txt. I didn't create this before. It was just created at 10:06. So let's take a look at this file. Welcome to our company. Here are your login credentials, username, Amy.Smith, and then this is your password. So let's go ahead and copy this password. And let's see if we can log in as Amy.Smith. First, let's just make sure she got added to the password file. We can see Amy.Smith in here, and let's su minus Amy.Smith and paste it in. And we have successfully done that. It's written the file, and we were able to create this file using those output redirect, those modifiers there with the little double arrows or single arrow. Cool. It created exactly what we wanted. Let's see here. Uppercase, all the DIRs. No, that wouldn't work because Bash is trying to expand the glob. Yes. Want to really pass the user star to the command. You can put it in quotes. Oh, really? I could have done that. I assumed it would not even work. Actually, now I got to see if it works that way. Let's run out. Let's use our script. We can use our script to create as many users as we want. Test 1. Test 2, test 3, delete, because I feel like this won't work either, but it might work because it's not gonna read the wildcard. If it doesn't match, it will pass. Test it with echo. Let's see. Yeah, see, am I gonna have to escape the, like, we'll have to do this? Like, I feel like it's not gonna work. Because it's gonna it reads it as a string. It doesn't match, it will pass the star through. Can I do this? Escaping like that will also work without the quotes though. So you're saying like this? Oh, you're saying if I echo it, okay, and like, and on those 2 minute echo. Oh yes, but I don't think that will work. Yes, I think that will work for things like this. I don't think this is gonna work for the, like, I actually don't think they follow the same functionality for users. Maybe they do. Maybe they do, but I don't, like, you're saying like pass that in as an arg to the removal. So like if I did, see, but I think that has to do with the way the echo works rather than input output. All right, cool. We're not gonna worry about that right now. You can't wildcard it, but the statement in bash is doing something with usually tests. The bash is doing something with user delete test star. The bash is, I'm not sure what you mean by it's doing something. Like stopping it, it didn't expand it. It passed it through. Yeah, it passed it through. It passed it through, but it didn't know what to do with it. Like it didn't know. It passed it through as the string it was trying to match on, right? Is that what you're? It didn't work, but it didn't work. Is bash anything with it? Oh yeah. Yes, like it didn't work because it okay, all right, I guess I'm trying to understand. Maybe I said something I didn't know I said, but okay, cool. Let's move. What do we just do? Create user. Okay. All right, so we got our files now, and what do we need to do now? We need to, the file is sent as an email attachment to the user with a success message. So we're not gonna send this email, but I just wanna show you that you can do, I wanna show you that you can do things like this from the command line. We could send one. I might have to, by default, mail might work by default. I might have to, like, I don't want to have to set up an SMTP server or anything like that, but I think mail by default will like send it to certain addresses with like a weird host name, with like my host name. My email might accept it, it might not accept it. But yeah, let's see. Send email from Linux command line. So there are a couple commands for this. There's a mail command that uses kind of the default like mail service, SMTP service. But if you use other things like send mail or like postfix or like it's a bunch of mail services. Again, like this one has send mail here. You can use these different things. Mail's a fine one. So like this one says you can send an attachment with this command. So we can just steal this right here and we'll make our own command. We can test it really quick. But again, most email providers aren't gonna allow this, and I might not be set up to do this right now. So let's do something like CD documents. What do I have in here? WRX maps. All right, so I'm gonna send, that's a big file. I'll just make a file. MK, let's vim, hello.txt. Hello from the stream. Then we'll paste in this mail command. This is going to send it to, this is going to send this in. But so the -A here is for your attachment. So I can go ahead and attach a file. We can practice attaching a file. So I can build it out something like this. This isn't something that's super important. I just want you to know that you can send mail. The -S is for the subject. So I can say something like, practice sending mail from command line. And then you have your email address here. So my email is abrooks@mastermind.io. Hey, Jumping Worm. Don't want to do anything. That's a feeling that I have very often. Let's see, /devnull. This would be, so this is going to be like my message that I could send in here. I could send in a message like a body in here as well, but no body message. Hope that's okay. Hello. Send that in. Whoops. This is, I think, what is this? This is the output. DevNull, A is used for attachment. Actually, invalid header, hello.txt. No body message, hope that's okay. I wonder if they tried to send. I wonder if that first one tried to send. Let's see. I haven't run the mail command in a very long time. Feels pretty cool, actually. Ignore my amount of mail messages. I didn't get anything. Doesn't look like it. Where's like the spam? Oh, it did work. So it did actually send it. It did get marked as spam though. It comes from this local domain, which is the host name, basically of my local computer. It did not attach properly. So it didn't like that. It didn't like the attachment. Let's see if we can see why that didn't work. Is the hello.txt here? It is. Do I have to give it? I have to give it like a. Oh, that makes sense. I wonder. Oh. A new line. Where is that at? Oh, sorry, I didn't give the dev null in here. Let's put this back in. Let's put this back in. Invalid header. Why doesn't it like it? Oops. All right, now it's got a bunch of email messages. Let's see. Hey, my new brain. Oh, capital A and not lowercase a. What is the? I wonder what lowercase a is. Like, this is just. Does anyone send mail like via this? Well, I guess yes. Yes. I mean, it is a useful tool when you're managing systems. I wonder. I'll use capital A in a second. I just want to see what the. Get in the habit. We're all going to try to get in the habit of using the man pages when we're confused. -A is attached file. Okay, so this is to append header. Why did I read that wrong? An email including an attachment. Okay, so they messed that up, or it changed. So it looks like a capital A is how you do it. So thank you for that. And I wonder if I need capital A and try number like 8 because we tried a bunch of times and we sent it over. And let's check our spam folder once again. Looks like I got some more messages here, which is good. All right, I wonder if it might actually not send that one at all, or maybe it send it to my regular inbox. It may not send it at all because it has an attachment. My spam filter may. Hold on. Can I, how do I like unreport this as spam? Block, filter. All right. Well, I gave that one a very specific subject, and I don't think my computer likes it. Or I don't think Gmail likes it. Because I tried to attach something to it at all. So go to the mail section, not the mud section. It says mailx is -a above it. Okay, yeah. Oh, like in this. Oh, yep, using my command. I definitely see that's what happens when you, but even in the mail command, oh, use that -a for mailx. See, that's what happens when you just copy and paste commands and not read. But I gave you that fair warning earlier that you should read, but I didn't. You can click the button in the email body, report not spam. I thought it said report as spam. Can I not read? Oh, it definitely says report not spam. I'm gonna try to send it one more time and see if it'll allow it. Not spinning for some reason. I could troubleshoot this, but we don't care about this right now. We know that this sends mail, and we know that -a is our attachment. So let's go ahead and let's take this command that we have here and let's add it to our script. Again, our script is basically just a list of commands that we could execute manually if we wanted to. So let's go ahead and send this file. So let's paste this in. Let's say, send email with user credentials to new user. All right, so something like this only works if you a lot of companies will make your username on the machines the same thing as the first part of your of your email address. So this only works if that's the case. Can you echo the credentials txt to the email body? Yes, you can absolutely echo the credentials to the email body, and that's what we are about to do. So good thinking right there. Just went out, mail isn't available in all distros in Arch. You have to grab send mail from AUR. Yes, there are a number of ways to send mail from the command line, but I know it was mind blowing to me the first time I realized you could do it, that you could send mail from the command line, period. It makes perfect sense, but at the time, I was surprised by it. So this may not be the command that's going to work for you, or you may have to install the specific mail package to make this work. But again, the goal is to know that you can send mail, and we're going to use it. We're going to send it using this. So we already have the credentials.txt file. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to specify, maybe that's not the right way to specify it, but we'll just set this up .txt. So it's going to send that credentials.txt file, and it's going to say, here are your login credentials, and it's going to send it in to whichever email we have here. So we don't know what the fictional healthcare company domain is, but we could use something like mastermind.io, and we could do something like this. We could just fill in username. So again, like I said, this only works. This will only work if if the username is the same as the email. Like if the username setup is the same as the email, like A Brooks or something like that, it's the only way that it will work. Or else you would need to set it up where you're passing in the user's email address as well, which again, it could work. It could definitely work. But yeah, you can do that. And we probably need to put this in quotes, just to make sure that it matches properly. Yes. So I could echo this out into the body. and not attach it. So yeah, let's take a look at that. Oh, so it does work. I did get it. Looks safe. It just took a little while for me to get it. So we can go with that. So we won't even send it in the body. We won't even send it in the body. We'll send it as attachment since we know that it works via attachment. So that the user can, just download the file and keep it locally on their computer or however they want to handle it. We will do it that way. Right now this won't go to anyone because we have a fictional company. Whatever we pass in, it won't properly send, or it'll never end up where it's supposed to end up unless I send it to my real email address. All right. So again, simple one-liner, just more practice with another Linux command. Now we see that we have mail available to us. Marcus Gordathian. This is a introduction to DevOps course, a 12-week course. We are in week 4. This is the start of week 4. And we're just doing a little bit of bash scripting. We have a little scenario. We just learned some Linux. We are just setting up some bash scripts so that we can learn how to just kind of automate some processes. What is the mail for Emacs? Oh, am I kidding? Of course there is. So Emacs isn't Emacs just a text editor? There are slides available. There are slides available. If you subscribe, you'll get access to all the slides by default, but I do want people to have access to. So maybe I'll start remembering to share this. Let's see more. Anyone with a link. Take this. You know what's funny? I have to log into Twitch here because I have a little server that's not working for me to work back and forth between my computers. And we'll get a little inception going here and I'll send it to you this way because this is the only way to get to my chat from this computer. All right, there we go. So if you want to check out the slides, you can definitely do that. But if you join the Google Classroom, you should be able to see this as well. I'll send that stuff out. All right, so the file is sent as an email attachment to the user. So that was part of the requirement to send it as an attachment with a success message. So we can add in a success message. We know how to do this here. Same thing here. We can just do something like, just to show you that you can actually do multi-line bash things, like just for your own visual, visual mental space. So visually it looks and makes sense to you. You can do something like ampersand, and then add the next command on the next line so that you don't get a bunch of just mess. Like since we want to echo something, which is mail has been successfully sent. If you don't want it to look like this, you can add, you can add something like this, and it'll just make it so that you can, continue the command on the next line. Your choice. Is Emacs an I didn't know this. Is this, are you, I never knew you guys are trolling me. Emacs. Okay, this is what I know as Emacs. Okay, all right, man. See, I told you, man, everyone's so good at trolling me. You guys are so good at trolling me that I don't know, man. You guys are good. You guys are really good. The name that Emacs is an operating system is because it's so extensible. That makes sense. It doesn't make sense. It makes sense. It doesn't make sense because no one uses Emacs because Vim's better. Yeah. So who would even want to extend it that much to make it like an operating system when you just have Vim? Why? I don't understand. Doesn't make any sense. But okay, they made us use Emacs in college, and I think that's why I struggled. Purely because Emacs isn't very good. But got me good. All right. I'm no longer going to take any of you seriously, ever. Let's see. Success message, files created. We got the success message here. And then the file with the user credentials is deleted from the system. So how do you delete something from the system? Delete credentials file. And we'll do an rm-rf credentials.txt. All right, so that's all you need to do to delete a credentials file. So it'll go through and it'll delete, after it sends the email, it'll delete the credentials file. But again, maybe you want to make sure it successfully sends the message first before, because if the message sending fails, you don't want it to delete that file, because you will lose the information forever and you'll have to recreate the account. So you can just do another like ampersands slash let's steal this line because I don't want to type it, and whoa, b x p. All right, so we can do something like this, and maybe we can say and echo deleting credentials file. All right, we're chaining some commands. We got a good command chain going here. And again, all this indentation and the slashes at the end is just a little bit of syntax to help us be able to see it and read it better. And so let's go ahead and run this. Create user, and the user we're going to create is Bo Jackson, and it needs the sudo in there. So I'll put in my password. So account for Bo Jackson has been created. It looks like a sent mail. Mail has been successfully sent, and deleting credentials file. So if I look here, there is no credentials file. The Bo Jackson email is not going to go anywhere because I have no Bo Jackson at mastermind.io, but it looks to me like everything is still here. I mean, everything is still working properly. So we are pretty far into our script. Let's go ahead and add the last thing. So there's a company rules file. So what you can do is you can specify a user directory when a user is created. By default, I think for most distros, when a user is created, that's the password. It sets a home directory, and usually it's in the home folder. And so you can see here, it sets the home folder to home, test 1, test 2, test 3, but I don't think it creates an actual directory. So I think if we like ll/home, these directories are not there. So we first are going to modify our user add command to create that home directory. And then we are going to put a file in there once it is created. So really quick, let's go ahead and do that. So how are we adding users? We are adding users with the user add command. So let's take man user add, and let's see what our options are. -b base directory, the default base directory for the system. So you have this, but someone posted it earlier. I think it was Viable Clan member. The -m, create the user's home directory if it does not exist. So it'll set the proper home directory by default, but it will not create a file for the home for that in that directory if it does not exist. Skeleton directory, which can be defined with K, will be copied to the home directory. So if you have a skeleton directory, you can use a skeleton directory to kind of make a template for what will be copied in there. So we could use that, but we're not going to use that today, even though this is a perfectly viable option for what we want to do. And so we just need to add an M to our user add command. -m. And so let's delete some of our users. We have test 1, test 2, test 3, sudo user delete test 1, test 2. Can I pass in more people? Nope. Test 2, test 3, and also Bo.Jackson because he needs to be gone too. All right, so now let's go ahead and create a new user using our sweet script. And let's call this person Sarah Silverman, because that's the first thing that came to mind for some reason. And it looks like it did everything. Deleting credentials file. It deleted the credentials file. Cat. It created Sarah Silverman. We still have Amy Smith in there. But what happens if I look at our home directory? Now, if I look at our home directory, we have a Sarah Silverman. We have a Sarah Silverman directory that was created here. That was because of the -m command. And it's owned by the user in the group, Sarah Silverman. So everything is set up properly. That is how that will all happen by default with that -m command. So it'll create and it'll set that up for you. So now if I I'll wait to change into someone's directory, because we'll have to do a little bit of work to get their password. But cool. We have Sarah Silverman in here, and we need to copy this rules file in the home directory. So let's create a rules file real quick. So what are the rules? This is just a company document that was passed along, and company rules.txt. And what are these? These are our company rules. Please follow them. All right, and what are some good company rules? 1, don't be a dick. That's the first one. 2, have fun. 3, try a lot. 4, work from home on Fridays. It's mandatory. And our last rule. Oh, you guys are giving good ones, like be excellent to each other. So that's a good one. Be excellent to each other. I'm cool with the never. So I don't mind pineapples on pizza, but I understand the disdain for it. So I'm cool with that. Never pineapples on pizza. All right, these are our company rules, and it has to go out to everyone's environment when they get added, to make sure that when they log in, they can access the rules and they know the rules to how we need to act and how we need to work inside of our company and what the rules are for the system. So now that we have this file, how can we get that into our users directory? So let's look at our create user.sh. And let's go down and we delete this, create the credentials.txt, and let's put this back up. Send email with user credentials to new user, and remove credentials.txt file for security reasons, if you weren't sure why we were deleting it. All right, and then what we need to do now is move or copy, not move. We want to copy company rules to new users home directory. All right, so this is where we're going to practice a little bit of our pathing here, kinda, but not really. We know a copy command is simply CP. So this is going to be part of our script. It's going to live right here in the same directory, so we can reference it just like this. We can say copy company rules .txt. So copy command is copy source to destination. So this is our source file. I want to copy company rules.txt from here to destination, which is the user's home directory, which exists in /home/ the username. So home username, and this might need to go in quotes as well. That'll probably work, but we can just do this. So this will go ahead and it will copy this file into this directory. So let's go ahead and see if that works. Let's do it manually first. So let's copy company rules to to Sarah, to /home/Sarah Silverman, and we did that. And so permission denied because my user by default does not have access to Sarah Silverman's directory. So I'll do a sudo. And if I do a sudo ll on home, Sarah Silverman, she doesn't have, really? We can see if we do an ls that company rules now exists in there. So we're gonna create a new user with this create directory script, a create user script, and we're gonna call this John David. I don't know why he has two first names, but it feels right. So we're gonna create a user named John David, and we'll check his directory to see if this works. Ran through. We get the error, cannot create regular file, company rules, permission denied. Again, you just saw that I added sudo to my command to be able to do it from my machine, and that is why we can't do it here. So let's go ahead and add that to the script as well. But first, let's delete user del John David because this user was created. All right, and let's modify the script. And we gotta add in a good old sudo for anyone who runs this. And let's go ahead and create John David again and deleting credentials file. We didn't put in a message for the copy, but what we can do is darn it. We can check it. I was gonna log in as John David, but I deleted the credentials file, so I can't. But we can sudo ls-la/home John David. And if we do that, we see we've got our hidden bash files here, and then we have a company rules document. And if we cat that just to make sure, cat company rules, just to make sure it has what we need. And we take a look, and it has everything that we need inside of it. So now I think we've completed everything for part number 2. We've generated a random password. If one wasn't passed in, so we're checking the length of the password that was passed in. If it is 0, we are generating a password. If it is not, we are using our own password. And again, actually, we can check that now. Let's. I don't think we actually checked the second piece. We checked that it'll generate a password, but what we did not check is if I change it to John Stewart, and whoops, I didn't mean to do that. John Craig, and I pass in a password, which is password 1. And then I try to change to John.Craig. It's gonna ask me for my password. I'm gonna type in password 1. And now I'm John Craig. And if I do an ls, company rules is here in my home directory. I can type in who am I, so that you know that I'm John Craig, and I can do a pwd to show you that I'm in home, John.Craig, and we know this file's supposed to be here. I can cat company rules. Oh man, because there's no bash profile stuff here, I can't even tab complete. Yeah, so cool. So we can pass in a password as well. So that also works. And then we have, what do we have? We sent an email to the user. We saw it work, but because these are random usernames without email addresses, it'll send it, but it's not going to go anywhere. Or it's never going to be delivered anywhere. And then the file with the user credentials is deleted from the system. Again, we can confirm that there's no credentials.txt file here, but it does get sent off. And then a company rules file is in the user's home directory. So, I mean, we've done a lot of stuff there. We've done a lot of stuff there. We learned how to create a file to append to a file. So we got a lot of stuff going on. So this is the third part. So this part's going to be fun. This part's going to take us a little bit. We're way over, but we've always been over on these things. It may not take us a bit, but yeah, we'll run through this. So let's take a look at scenario part 3. And then we can kind of clean this up. We can we can definitely clean this up. We can add some functions to make this a little bit easier. There's a lot of different stuff we can do. But we've done it. We can create users in an automated fashion, but now we've run into one final issue. Some of our engineers have really fat fingers, me, and sometimes mistype usernames. That was a clever addition here. It's mistype, but I mistype it because of my fat fingers. But we also realized that no one has any loyalty anymore, and some of the new engineers we have hired have already left. Sure, we can add users, but currently there's no way for us to remove them and to clean up the system. So this last part is just going to be to be able to take in even more data and determine what we want to do with that. So let's ask I'm going to go through, see if there's any questions about the stuff we've already done. Ask questions now about the stuff that we've already done. If not, we're going to hop into this last part and we'll just knock it out. We'll run through it and we'll push it up to GitHub and people can kind of take a look. We can compare it to the old one and see if it looks similar, or I don't know. I'm not looking at the old one right now, so we'll see. Sarah Silverman, shortcuts are your friend. Oh yeah, the tilde home is great, but I find that it takes people a long time to remember and to make the connection between the home directory and that shortcut. But yes, absolutely, I'm a tilde user. You also need a slash there, but I am a tilde user. Might be expansion issues in the script. It's possible. Yeah. Cool. All right. So now we're gonna make this a little bit more of an application, I guess. But we want to be able to basically tell it to either add a user or to delete a user. So we can modify this script to basically allow us to be able to pass in as an argument whether or not we want the user to be added or to be removed. And then we can take action accordingly. So the first thing we're going to do is package up this adding a user functionality. We're gonna make it into a function so that we can kind of package up that functionality and use it accordingly. So let's do that. I don't think user works. Use something like echo cp file.txt bash or something. User. Oh, you mean for? We're about to hop back in there anyway. But do you mean for? Do you mean for which? For this? This one? This one works because we captured username already. If this is the line you're talking about. If we use tilde instead, it probably wouldn't. Echo file.txt user bash. Yeah, maybe something like that. But yep. That's why we were pretty explicit here in what we did. So let's package up. Let's package this up. So interestingly enough, I do use Vim pretty exclusively, but I'm gonna hop into Visual Studio Code real quick, only because my Vim foo for large block indents is not great. Like I always mess it up for some reason, even though like I know to use the break. I can visual block copy block highlight all of it and use my brackets to indent things over, but I always get it wrong. So VS Code's a little bit easier to do this in. So what we can do here is we can change some things. First, let's make this into its own little function. So in Bash, we can do like we can create a function name by just typing it out with some parentheses. So I mean, add a user. This might have been what I called the last one, just because this is a simple name for it. So you do something like this, and you can open it up, and you can close it. I could also put that on the first line, but I could take all this, and I could put it in here, and then I could take all of this and indent a little bit. I actually think in Bash it's fine. It's fine as is, but I like it a little more like this. And now that that's done, I'm gonna save it, and we're going back to Vim right now. That's all that I use that for right now. So this looks a little bit better. So I have this add user function. So for anyone who doesn't know, a function is simply a packaged up reusable piece of code, so that you don't have to redo functionality. It's all this functionality. If I want to use it over and over again, I can call it other places in my application or in my code if I needed to use it later. So I could take this add user functionality as is, and let's say to call it. So right now, if I ran this, it wouldn't actually do anything. So if I save this and I do create user, and I do test user again, and you see we didn't get any output that we were getting before. And if I cat etsy password, there's no test user here at the bottom. Again, this is because I've packaged it up into, I've created a function now, but the function isn't actually being used. It's waiting to be used via this add user name. So like now for me to be able to use this function, I would have to actually call the function, and I can call it by doing add user, and I can just call it this way, and whoops, malformed email address, password. Whoa. Create user. Oh, I'm actually interested. What happened? What is this? Malformed email address, password not changed. What did I do wrong? Vim. What didn't it like when I do it that way? Is it because, let me see something. Am I calling the function wrong? 1 second. Bash functions. Make sure there's any weird stuff that I need to do with this. But this is good. I'm glad we're running into problems. Yeah, open, close. I could put it on the same line. I don't think it has anything to do with the. Oh, actually, is it? It's not. It's not that, is it? It can't be that. Yeah, that's not it. Malformed email address. Cannot parse. I got a couple of different things. Password not changed. Oh, never mind. No, that's right. Let's see. Let's see what's going on here. Authentication token. Line 1, user password not changed. Let's do this really quick. Right here. I saw that the malformed email address didn't actually have a username in it, so I'm thinking it's not picking these up. Which it does not. Hold on, sorry. Which it doesn't. Let's see. Oh, you dropped args. Yeah. Yes. It should still be able to pick up. It should still be able to pick it up. It should still be able to. Oh no, I didn't. I'm tripping. I'm tripping. Thank you. I think I have to remove it out of here. X. And I think I have to move it outside of the function. What? I did a DD after that. Undo. Shift V. Exit again. Paste it. Whack. Delete. Escape. All right, I think this will work. I don't think I need to echo these. I believe this will work. And if I run it for test user, all right, that works. I just had to move scoping issue. I think we learned a little bit about scope, but I can't remember. A little bit of scoping issue. So if I cat etsy password, we got the test user there. So cool. So sudo user del test user. All right. So we've created a function. We've packaged up that functionality into a little bit of like a reusable piece of code. So I could run this multiple times and it would just add users. I could use this to like basically like loop over a list of files. Like I could have a file with a list of usernames and I could import them in and I could use this code over and over again to do that. So I could do that. Yes. Let's see. We're adding add user 1, 2 at the bottom. Oh yes. Yeah, I could do that as well. Yep. I could do $1, $2. Yep, I can do that as well. All those things work. So what we're gonna do now, we are going to, let's make a quick function we have an add user, but we wanna be able to delete a user too. So let's go ahead and let's add a function to delete a user. So we're gonna call this function remove user. And actually I could probably put that back, but I will open that up. So first thing we can do is sudo user del sudo user delete $username to delete a username. But to delete a user, that's how we've been doing it. But let me show you something. I created this new test user with a script. If I do ll/home, test user is still here. And actually it gets, well, it reassigns the owner in the group because I've deleted this user now, didn't I? Yeah, I deleted test user. But this directory doesn't get deleted. We can clean it up. We can actually clean it up with some arguments. We're just gonna manually delete it. So we know we created this folder. We are gonna go ahead and delete it. So the way you delete a folder is rm/home test user. And you got to do sudo. So actually, I'm gonna go to the rm is how you remove a directory, or how do you delete something. And cannot remove, it's a directory and it's got stuff in it. You could do like rmdir, and it's a directory not empty. So you can just do an rm-rf, which means recursively. So if there are folders inside of this folder, folders and files inside of this folder, it will delete them all. Like it'll delete everything. And the F is to force it so that even though it's not empty, it will try to delete it anyway. And if we ll/home, that is gone. So let's go ahead and add that to our script as well, just because this is probably the way that someone would do it if they were first doing this. And let's see, username. So we'll do and rm -rf. What are we doing? /home /username. So now you can see if you deal with scripts and you've built programs up before, you can now see for something like this, now there's an argument to say, all right, because we're using it more than once, we could go ahead and, well, actually the -m creates it, but we could maybe save this directory as a thing during creation. Maybe, but also we're not gonna be running both of these things at the same time. So there are ways to restructure this script to make it a lot better. We've just been going through and adding things as they've come along. So we have this we have an add user function and a remove user function down here. But how do we, right at the bottom here, we're adding a user, and I could do like I could change this and just run remove user down here instead. And we can test it to see if it works, actually. So we have John Craig still in here. So let's create this and call John.Craig. And it cannot remove. Why can't it remove? Permission denied. Let's go ahead and let's add in. Oh, okay. We added a sudo to the user delete, but not to the rm-rf. So now also, I wouldn't be able to run this again because it deleted the user and it couldn't delete the folder. If I try to run this again, it wouldn't be able to delete the user because the user is gone now. And this would actually exit unsuccessfully. It wouldn't be a 0 exit code. So it would never run this. So I have to delete John Craig manually now. So rm sudo rm-rf. What are we doing? rm-rf. What are we doing? Home john.craig. All right, so let's who else do we have? Cat etsy password, not kata, just cat. We still have John Stewart, so let's go ahead and remove John Stewart. John dot Stewart, and if we check that again, John Stewart's gone. And if we look at our home directory, John Stewart's gone. We still have John David here, but this is dumb. This is a dumb script. This means you have to go back in every time and change it depending on what you need to do. But yeah, but we don't want to do, we don't want to do that. We want to be able to have our script know, we want to be able to have our script know what to do. So we can do something like this. Vim. We can take in another argument. So we can say, instead of running remove user, we can say, we can check for a positional argument. So we can do the same. We can do another if statement, and we can say if, how do we want to do this? Do we want to send it in? Do we want to send it in as the first option? That makes sense. But then we'll have to change our numbers. So we'll say if, we'll make it the first option because it makes the most sense. It makes the most sense. So we'll pass in. We'll say if $1 it should be double equals in bash, I believe. If $1 equals add. Yeah, we'll use the word add. So basically, we're gonna say you can pass in the person running this is gonna have an option to pass in either add or remove, so that it can determine which function it wants to use. So we're gonna say the first option is gonna be the add, and if they pass that in, go ahead and run the what I need to do here. Then add user, add a user. How do you do, is it elif here or is it else if? I don't know. What is bash's else if? Bash else if. I never remember which one is, like, I have to check else ifs in every single language that I use, every single one. Else, I don't want an else. I want an, it's elif then. So we're gonna add another case. So we're gonna say elif. We're gonna check, say, elif $1 is equal to, what do we want? You guys like remove or do you like delete? What would you rather pass in? Or would you pass in like, we could do a case here. Only reason we're not doing case because I don't want to type in ESAC, but we can definitely, it infuriates me so much every time I have to type that in. We can definitely do a case statement here. Maybe we'll just show you an example of a case statement after this, of this, but delete. All right, cool. We want to delete in there. So if they pass in delete, it'll actually not run add user. It'll run remove user. And maybe actually to make it a little simpler, we'll make the name of the function actually delete user. Else, we're gonna say, let's change this while we're in here. Delete, and the else is gonna say echo You must enter add or delete as first argument. And we're gonna finish it off like that. All right, so what's happening here? So everything up here is one piece of code that will add a user. So everything that we need to be able to add a user. Everything right here is what we need to delete a user. Again, we can make this shorter. I just, again, wanted to combine some of just all the things we've been working on for Linux. So we're deleting a user here, all the functionality deleted users right here. But this is the piece of code here, or this is the piece of the script that determines what to actually run. So we have a single script. We don't need multiple scripts to be able to delete stuff, to add or delete stuff. We can use a single script. And now the user can just pass in add or delete. Now we need to do another big piece because we're using $1. We're using that first $1 as the thing for the add or delete. But originally we were using it to collect the username. So we'll have to push these out one. So username will be 2, password will be 3. And we can, note that in the documentation. And we don't need to change anything else. Everything else should be fine. So here we go. Let's see if we can use this. So who do we have available to us right now? We still have Sarah Silverman. So let's go ahead and remove Sarah Silverman. So /createuser.sh. We need to pass in, if I don't pass in anything, let's say if I pass in just Sarah.Silverman. It actually says syntax error expected near else. Whoops. So it doesn't even run. Line 47 is where we have an error. Else elif. What did I do wrong here? Oh, I need a then here, I believe, but I don't think that's the. All right, cool. That works. I was missing a then, missing something in there. You guys are always catching it so fast. I need to keep an eye on the chat. I got to move because I'm working off my laptop. I'm not looking up at the chat quite as much. I need to get the server back fixed up. But so I typed in just Sarah Silverman and it lets me know you must enter add or delete as the first argument. So it does provide some feedback on what we need to do. And so we can go ahead and do that. We wanted to remove Sarah Silverman, so we have to pass in delete. And we do that. We don't get any output. Maybe we should add some output to that real quick so we know what we're doing. But if we cat this again, Sarah Silverman is gone from the list. /home. Sarah Silverman is gone from the list. But let's add her back. Let's add Sarah Silverman instead. And we get all the output that we expect to get. We can see that she's been added here. And we can see that she has a folder here. And we can see that in her home directory, I don't know why I did that. I meant to go sudo because it won't let me. We can see that the company rules.txt got copied into her directory. And let's go ahead and add some output to this really quick. So the remove user, let's say username has been removed from the system. Just so we can have some output. It's a little nicer when you confirm something went on. And let's go ahead and let's delete Sarah Silverman again because she's just been added. And we get error on line 40, command not found. I must have not closed the quotes or something. Let's line 40. Username. Oh, I didn't give it a command. Wow. See, look at this. Everyone makes mistakes. just echo. So I typed in this string and it spit it out for me kinda, but it spit it out to me to tell me there was an error. I didn't tell it what to do with this string. I just wrote the string. I'm gonna echo it now. And deleted her. She doesn't delete because the first command actually did delete it. So we don't want it to actually send this out because it was actually already deleted. So we're gonna go ahead and add that as a and as well. And again, just for beauty's sake, we'll leave it on its own line, but we'll do a ampersand, is that 3? And we'll put it down on the next line. And so if we were trying to do it again, it would tell us she didn't exist. It didn't give us that the thing that we needed. So very simply, you can add and you can delete now. So that is, I think that's the last piece. Yes. So the first time we did this, I actually went in for a fourth piece and basically modified it to take in a list of files. A file with a list of names and create those user accounts. So you could batch add or batch delete. So you would get into adding in some loops here and like the context of reading of files. We're gonna stop here, but I'm gonna upload this to GitHub, and then I'm gonna add a text file in there, or README, with the instructions to see if you can add in that functionality. The functionality of one, the requirements are to have the script take in a list with user accounts listed on each by a new line, and to read through that and to loop through and either bulk add user accounts for that or delete them because this is something that you may want to do. Work is to properly exit non-zero on failures. Yes, that's a good idea. I'm actually going to add that. We're going to add that into we're going to go add this in the Google Classroom now. I know everyone doesn't have Classroom, but I like that. I really like that. Classwork. We're gonna do for, whoops, this is not Python. This is DevOps. Let's go ahead and put some stuff. Okay. Assignment. Bash lab. What do we want to call this? Extra. I'm just going to extra for now. I'll change the name. Let's push this to GitHub really quick. So I have a link to give you so that you can pull it down. Let's see. Let's go ahead and I think I already have a scripts repo here. Let's go ahead and I'm going to create a new repository, and we're actually just going to create a whole repo for, let's create a new repo for the DevOps Bootcamp. That's not a good name. Sure. Actually, yes, it is. DevOps Bootcamp, DevOps dash Bootcamp. And we will actually, let's make it for the actual time of year. So Jan 2020. Because each one will be different as they evolve. I don't want to have the same repo. I'll add a description later. It'll be public. We're not going to have a README right now. We'll go ahead and create this repository with nothing in it. So let's, we have company rules.txt. Let's put this into a folder so that, here's what we're going to do. ... I'll move everything around on my computer after this. So I'll move bash scripts to DevOps Bootcamp. And I will make a new directory in here called, I will call this bash lab. And I will move company rules and create user into Bash Lab. So now they're in there. I will make this its own Git repository. And I will copy this, paste this in, git add, commit this, added, completed, lab script, and company rules. We will learn this when we get to there's a Git portion of this. Mastermind IO. I don't really know what that feels right. I'm used to SSH authentication. All right, so now here's where we can go to grab this stuff. I will paste this so that anyone can grab it, but I'll put this in there so that everyone can grab it. Now I gotta go back into Twitch on here. I really gotta get this together if this Synergy server is not gonna work. Let's get you this. And so anyone can grab from there, from that GitHub. Whoa. And let's go ahead and, you know what? I'm not gonna put it in here. I want everyone, because everyone was able to go through this. But I will start doing this. The homework, I'm actually gonna put it in here. Let's actually make a homework file. Vim. Let's make, Bash Lab, Vim homework. I like this actually, .txt. This is a good paradigm. So first things first, homework one is currently our script to properly exit non-zero on failures. Yes, is to don't want to add any. Let's do your best to extend our script to add the following functionality. All right, so one would be to allow user to pass in a list of usernames from a separate text file. The script should read the list of names and perform the action that is specified, add or delete, on each name in the list. So that's one that's cool to do. And then two, currently our script does not exit with proper error codes. I'm just gonna fix this. Error codes on failures. So just for some context, this second one is whenever we ran into an issue, whenever we ran into a problem, our script was not, it does not exit with the proper error code. Some of them probably are, some of them might be proper, but you can make the script handle this in a better way. And it does not exit with the proper error codes on failure. Try to extend the script to exit with proper error codes when in not error codes, exit codes. I don't know why I keep typing error codes. Proper exit codes when when errors and failures happen. Can't think right now. All right, I'm gonna push this up to GitHub, so if you grabbed it, you can pull in a second. I should have just copied and replaced that. All right, and let's push this. Added homework to the repo. All right. Ah, man. All right. That same link should work. Not should work. The same link will work. And now in GitHub, this is available for you. And to that link that I posted, it's available for you inside of this bash lab. There is the script that we wrote. There is the company rules.txt, so the script can utilize that. And then there's this homework.txt. Now, I would ask, and maybe I'll change this so that people don't accidentally blow up my inbox, even though I'm going to remove my email from this really quick, even though it's not my email, but my domain, send it to replace it with something that you have access to, just so you know it's working if you want. Let me change that now before I get a bunch of spam, even though I don't really care. Vim. Let's change this to example domain.com. I don't even know why I did that status. Changed example email domain. Whoops. Okay, that was I did it. I think we did it. So it's up and it's available. Default to Jeff at Amazon.com. I like that. I definitely like that, Mr. Bezos. Cool. So any questions about bash scripting? So like I said, what we did tonight was a fairly simple, like it was like it wasn't maybe not the best scenarios, but I think these are things that you can do to your system. Again, managing users is something that you may have to do when you're dealing with Linux systems. We will be building bigger and bigger scripts as we go along. Like right now, we just don't have the context around, again, like installing a bunch of applications and modifying their configuration and stuff. We will be using all this functionality over and over again throughout the course. But I think at this point, I think this is I hope this was a good showing of like how you can automate simple tasks, a task that people have to do manually. Having a simple tool like this to help them, be able to add users, because again, you're adding a bunch of, your company's growing or whatever, can be really valuable. Don't take anything for granted. Any amount of automation can provide a ton of value to your company. So yeah, it definitely takes some time to get used to, because again, this is programming. Like this is applying logic to the instructions that you are given to your computer. There's also there's levels of syntax you have to learn, and again, you don't need to memorize these things. You saw me that's why I kept going to Google and using them as an example, rather than just fighting through the syntax. But it's okay. You don't have to remember those things. You can remember the concepts of if statements and those conditionals, and how you can reuse a bit of code by creating a function and calling it later, and how we kind of did everything down here. And again, there's a million ways you can do it. And if you're really that interested, and you can make this script way better, go ahead and submit a pull request or something, or maybe a different branch that we can compare it to. Maybe we'll leave it like this, since this is what we actually did in the course. And in case anyone comes along later and watches the video, I want them to get what we have here without all of the extra fixes. But feel free to put in some PRs. We'll look at them. We'll comment on them. If you don't know what a PR is, if you have no idea what we're talking about, don't worry about it. You're gonna get there. I promise you're gonna get there. You're gonna get there. So hopefully that was good. Little bit long as all these have been. I am gonna get out of here, but what do we have? Wednesday, we are on to like networking and security. So still very heavily inside of the Linux ecosystem. We'll be doing some stuff with that, but we'll be learning the base of like all the things that we're going to be getting into. We're going to be getting into a lot of AWS stuff in the coming weeks. So we're going to learn how just kind of like how the internet works and how computers are interconnected, and how they, how requests are made, and different protocols that they use to do different things, and the benefits of some, and like the drawbacks of others. And we'll be learning about all those things, and they're very, very important. And they really do, even though it's not as fun as something like this, like going through a lab, it's integral to just about everything we're going to build on after this. So again, it'll be good. And yes, that'll be on Tuesday. That'll be on Tuesday for that. If you are doing the Python class, just for my own brain as well, what are we doing tomorrow? I have no idea. I know I have an idea, but I don't know what we're doing tomorrow. In Python tomorrow. So if you're trying to get your coding skills up a bit, we do a Python course as well. We are on conditionals and control flow. So the same if statements that we did tonight, comparisons, we're just getting there in Python. Again, we're moving slower there because that is purely a programming course, and we're spending more time on stuff there, not breezing through stuff the same way we're breezing through things here, so that people can really get it. So we'll be learning about conditionals in Python, and we're gonna be like getting into logic this week. So my scroll bar is not working. Oh yes, it is. So yeah, we'll get into control flow and how to control what's happening in a program, and then we'll get into some algorithms. So we're really going to start moving there. This week should be a pretty fun one for the Python course, because we're getting into the fun stuff for sure. Should we PR a new file or the same file, and you'll abandon after you look at them? Yeah. I like put them up like against the master branch. Well, I'll take a look at them. I encourage everyone to take a look at them. I encourage people to get comfortable looking at PRs. Let's comment on them if people are doing some cool stuff. I'll try to comment on them when I can. But yeah, shoot the PRs in there, and we'll just abandon them we'll abandon them after we comment, or we can leave them in there for a little while. Maybe I'll just clean it up, at the end of every session or something like that. Like at the end of every 12 weeks, we'll clean up the PRs or something like that. But I think it's a good practice to kind of get in there and do that stuff. And it'll be nice to have those available, so when we do get to the Git portion, that we can go through it together, and there'll be some PRs for us to review as we're kind of learning how to use Git properly. Or I don't even want to say properly. I want to say effectively more so. Because there's a lot of ways to use Git. But cool. Thanks everyone for another great stream as usual. Great questions. Learned a lot. I learned a lot again from you guys. I need to go to bed. I'm tired right now. I had a long weekend, not a long weekend, a good weekend. We had a company party, and I had some other things that were fun. So I had a fun weekend, but fun weekends are pretty detrimental. And I went to work out right before this. So I am wrecked. I'm tired. So I'm going to get a lot of sleep tonight. So I should have a lot more energy tomorrow. I shouldn't be so foggy. I was definitely foggy for a lot of this. But yeah, everyone have a good night. If you are in, I'm going to send out messages to all the new people who subscribe tonight, so that you have the Google Classroom stuff for you. So you can get in there and you can get some of the extra work and extra resources that are in there. But yeah, have fun. Take a look at this repo. See if you can make the changes. It's okay if you fail. Like, it's completely okay if you can't get it. It's fine. We'll all work together. You'll get there eventually. But cool, my new brain. I appreciate that. Glad to have you as a part of this community. Definitely join the Slack channel if you're not already in the Slack channel. If you're subscribed, join the Discord channel as well. With what is it? If you hit bang, if you hit exclamation point and type Discord, it'll give you the link. Same thing for Slack. But cool. See everybody later. Have a great night.